हेलो।
यस यस
हाँ सर, मैं ये
यस
पूछ रहा था, जैसे कुछ स्टॉक होते हैं जो मतलब मोस्टली मिड या स्मॉल कैप होते हैं, जो सर्किट सर्किट में चलते हैं। आज 5%, फिर कम हो गया, फिर ज्यादा हो गया, और फिर उसके बाद वो ऊपर जाते हैं, और फिर ऐसे सर्किट सर्किट नीचे, फिर थोड़ा ऊपर जाते हैं, फिर नीचे। तो मैं ये समझना चाह रहा था कि उनका अल्टीमेट फेट क्या होता है, और ऐसा करने से किसको फायदा होता है वो?
प्रमोटर और ऑपरेटर को वो लोग को ऑफलोड करना होता है शेयर।
हाँ सर, तो
वो 2-3 रुपये वाले में ही होता है।
हाँ हाँ सर, हाँ सर।
हाँ, तो वो लोग को ऑफलोड करना होता है, इसके लिए ये सब होता है। और मेहरबानी करके ये सब शेयर में आप
मैं
मत
नहीं करता
जाइए,
हूँ सर,
और
मैं नहीं करता हूँ।
नहीं तो देखिएगा भी मत ना।
जी जी।
कचरे को क्यों देखना है।
ऐसा माहौल
इफ
बन
यू
जाता
वांट
है
टू,
सर। आसपास सभी लोग बाई कर रहे हैं, लोग अपना पूरा कैपिटल निकाल के डाल रहे हैं उसमें। ये ट्रिपल हो जाएगा, ये 4 टाइम हो भी जाता है। तो मैं जस्ट वो
सर
समझना चाह रहा था सर।
ये पंप एंड है, नथिंग एल्स। और ये शेयर बाजार है, जिसको जो भी करने का ये छूट है। अब पैसा लगा के लेता है, शेयर बेचता है, लेता है। ठीक है ना, अपने को क्या।
तो
और
ऐसे
कोई
2 एग्जांपल दूं सर मैं, अगर आप या समर्थ सर कोई उस पे कुछ बोलना। जैसे TTML था, बहुत ट्रेंड हुआ था। अभी एक लॉर्ड्स क्लोरो है, केमिकल स्टॉक की, बहुत ऊपर जा रहा है वो साइड। तो उस पे कुछ आप बता सकेंगे सर, या समर्थ सर?
नहीं 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 नहीं, ये सब ये हम लोग का फील्ड नहीं है। ये हमारे हिसाब से ये स्टॉक मार्केट नहीं है, ये सिर्फ पंप एंड डंप है।
अच्छा, थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू। हाँ जीत भाई बोलो।
नमस्कार नमस्कार।
हाँ
कुछ नहीं सर, मैं वही फिर रिजल्ट ही देख रहा था सर। मैं तो बस रिजल्ट देखता रहता हूँ। तो कल मैंने देखा वो सेल का रिजल्ट, सेल सेल इंडिया।
अरे सर, मैं क्या बोलता हूँ, वो कुछ बोलना
हम्म।
है क्या है
मैं
स्टॉक्स के।
4,000 करोड़ के प्रॉफिट पे लास्ट ईयर, इस साल 8 करोड़ का
अरे मैं
लॉस
कल
आया
तेरे
उसको।
को सुन रहा था वेदांता का
हम्म,
आर्ग्यूमेंट करते हुए। वो
हम्म,
छोड़ो ना ये सब।
अब
वो
मैं
कुछ
नहीं बोलना
काम
चाहता।
का बात है तो बताओ यार।
नहीं नहीं सर,
स-
आज मैं आपसे सीखने आया हूँ सर।
हाँ
मैं आपसे सीखने के लिए आया हूँ आज सर।
हाँ, तो एक बात तू वो सुन ले मेरी।
आप
अगर
बोलो सर, मैं सुनूंगा आज आपको सर।
अगर सीखना है
हम्म।
तो सुनना सीखो, बोलना भूल जाओ।
ठीक है सर।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सर।
हाँ सुमित
सर
भाई।
गुड इवनिंग शरद भाई।
हाँ गुड इवनिंग, बोलिए।
सर मेरे को आज के मार्केट के बारे में पूछना था कि आज मार्केट में इतना बाउंस आया, इतना हाई गया, लेकिन ओवरऑल स्क्रिप्ट्स देखे तो सर स्क्रिप्ट्स में तो या तो फ्लैट थी या माइल्ड नेगेटिव में थी। तो सर ये क्या ट्रैप जैसा समझे, इसे क्या मतलब, कुछ समझ नहीं आया सर।
I will cover this in my, what do you say, I will speak about it.
No sure sir, this was only my question, so
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
be waiting for that. Thank you
yeah.
sir.
Good evening, friends. We are at a 52-week high, and most probably in a day or two will be at all-time high. This is a very funny market. Very, very funny market. If you are long Nifty, you will make tons and tons of money. If you are शॉर्ट तो कोई नहीं करता है ज्यादातर, बट अगर ये कॉल पुट में कुछ आपने किया होगा तो आपका तो बैंड बाजा बारात सब निकलेगा। ऑप्शन राइटर का तो हाल हवाल है, चारों ओर अंधेरा है, जेब में पैसा नहीं है, आगे सौदा नहीं होगा। निफ्टी बैंक निफ्टी मैं नहीं खेलता, नहीं खेलता, नहीं खेलता। और अभी भी मेरा व्यू है कि 12,000 आएगा। इसका मेन रीजन है कि अपना जो वैल्यूएशन है ना, वो बेहिसाब ज्यादा है, बेहिसाब ज्यादा है। अगर आप निफ्टी 50 में से 4-5 स्टॉक जैसे पावर ग्रिड, एनटीपीसी, ओएनजीसी और भी एक दो है ऐसे, वो ज्यादा अर्निंग वाले हैं, तो वो निकाल देंगे तो अपना पी कुछ 30-32 होगा सर। और ज्यादातर स्टॉक तो सब 40, 50, 60, मारुति 60, एशियन पेंट, फिर टाइटन, व्हाट नॉट इज क्वाइट हाई। सो ये बोलना कि अपना 21 का पी है इज लॉट ऑफ बुलशिट। एंड another thing is that if you compare any market with Indian market, it is usually overpriced. Mainly because there is not much floating stock, and whatever floating stock is available, that is cornered in the FNO market in way of open interest. So if you look at open interest of Trent, it will be 70-80 lakhs. Or you know what I'm trying to say कि पूरा जो भी माल आता है वो वायदे में डाल देता है ओपन इंटरेस्ट में, तो अपने को ट्रू वैल्यू नहीं पता। सी आई एम नॉट एडवोकेटिंग दैट द स्टॉक्स आर should go down or up, or I'm only saying these prices are there just to trap you. Another thing is now Nifty in Corona was 8,000 or 7,500, and now we are at 18,500. Why does the regulator does not allow short selling by FIs? Why? So ours is a US markets, now it has reduced, but still the short interest is around 3 to 4% of the equity You understand what it means? And over here hardly anything, and that too some poor people like me are shorting. So the point is, it's not a free market. First of all, you might say इसका ये भाव हो जाएगा. If you restrict the sellers from selling, you can make any rate you want. But the problem will be when you want an exit. You will not get an exit. So hats off to people who predicted 52-week high in Nifty and all-time high and whatever. Now, I'm coming to the question which Mr. Sharma asked, that today the market was up, but almost all the stocks were either just positive or negative. That's it. Because of 300 and
सर आवाज ब्रेक हो रहा है सर।
some 330 points rise, 65 points.
शरद सर आपका आवाज ब्रेक हो रहा है सर।
करके बोलना।
सर आवाज ब्रेक हो रहा था सर।
अभी आता है, बराबर आता है?
हाँ सर अभी बराबर है।
हाँ, so I was saying 330 पॉइंट में से 265 पॉइंट्स 5 स्टॉक के थे और बाकी का जो था वो 45 स्टॉक में. Now this is a stupid market. Another fallacy of our market is it's a free float index. It's not an equal weight index like in US. So everything gets distorted at times. And at times that index is bad and this is good. It goes on. But the point is advanced decline at 52-week high was very almost 5 to 4. And whosoever comes on TV goes gaga over stocks, and as soon as the market opens, it is down by 5%, 10%. I'm talking about CNBC. They said Eicher Motor good, Indian Hotel good, this, then. 5% घट गया. Either you leave your job or you are misleading the people. Please stop this nonsense. Look at what is happening in the market. Don't 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 fool gullible people. Because I know Indian Hotel, I saw the results. I was not at all impressed by it. Q and Q down, and I was expecting a very healthy growth. Once upon a time, say in 2004 or 5, I used to hold 8% of Indian Hotels. So I have some love for that stock. So I saw it's bad. In pre-opening, I sold 20,000 shares at 349. I covered 10,000 at 340 and 10,000 at 335 because I have in futures also something. The point is not about what I did. The point is how did the CNBC analyst and to say it's buy. What nonsense is this? What's going on? Nobody to ask. Nobody to ask. The CNBC, if you follow CNBC, you will lose your pants one day. All time talking about Nifty, Nifty, Nifty. Arey kya hai? Educate people, no. But how will you educate people when you yourself don't know what is good or bad? ये बजर पेंट का रिजल्ट आया. वो जो वो रिजल्ट आया ना, तो 590 का यूएस में सीधा 400 या 300 होता. अपने वहां बोलता है मैनेजमेंट कमेंट्री. अरे काय को उल्लू बनाता है. हर क्वार्टर में मैनेजमेंट कमेंट्री अच्छा है. व्हाट व्हाई सी मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. बट इट इज जस्ट द एंग्विश. कितना लोग उल्लू बनता है इसके पीछे. शर्म होता है. वाह वाह. और भी क्या मालूम. ट्रेंड नहीं, ट्रेंड नेगेटिव बोला था बराबर. So today action was only 4, 5, 6 stocks. Rest. And HDFC went because HDFC Bank and its brother went up because some foreign joker came out with a note that that weightage of that of HDFC Bank will double. And here very nicely I read, it might, it may. अभी इसके ऊपर तुम बढ़ाता है शेयर माइट और मे पे. क्या नॉनसेंस है. पूरा रिग्ड मार्केट. टोटली रिग्ड मार्केट. अच्छा, वो दूसरा बात. In my portfolio, 8 stocks. No, 7 now. I got out of frame. One is a Desi company and other are MNC. What I notice is everything is going down. Everything is going down except one Desi company. But I think that won't fall much. And that is Westlife. If it comes to 650, I will add much more. Besides that, I was trying to tell you 52-week high amongst all of us. Please tell me how much your portfolio is up. Uh, where is the bull run? In your mind and not in your pocket. Bull run should be in your pocket and not in your mind. People abuse me. 12,000, ये 12,000. अरे 12,000 क्या 10,000 हो जाएगा. चलो, मेरे को अब्यूज करने से क्या मिलेगा तुमको? और मैं हकीकत बताता हूँ कि अपने वहाँ एक कंपनी है, आपने HDFC AMC, एकदम बढ़िया है, एकदम बढ़िया है. 5.5 बिलियन का वैल्यूएशन है HDFC AMC का. और वो जो भी छुटपुट उसका ये AUM होगा 1,00,000 सवा लाख करोड़ जो भी होगा वो. यूएस में एक कंपनी है इन्वेस्को करके, आप लोग ने नाम सुना होगा, सब में होता है, सब ETF में इन्वेस्को ही होता है. उसका एसेट अंडर मैनेजमेंट है more than $4-5 trillion. या ज्यादा ही होगा. वो मिलता है $8 बिलियन के वैल्यूएशन. कितना? 8 बिलियन. चलो ठीक है, हम इंडियन है, हमारा ताकत बहुत है, हम लोग बहुत होशियार है, चलिए मान लिया. उधर वो 4% डिविडेंड डील में मिलता है, इधर ½ भी नहीं है. So this is just to demonstrate how expensive we are. Stay away. आप देखिए ना, आपका एक कौन है, गगनदीप भाई, तो अनम्यूट कीजिए.
जी सर.
आपका पोर्टफोलियो ऊपर है या नीचे है?
सर पोर्टफोलियो तो नहीं, बट निफ्टी शॉर्ट है, वो फंसा हुआ है.
नहीं, वो बात की बात है. नहीं, जस्ट इंट्रैक्शन के लिए पूछ रहा हूँ. ऊपर है या
पोर्टफोलियो तो है ही नहीं ना सर, पोर्टफोलियो तो है ही नहीं.
चलिए, तो आप म्यूट कीजिए. देवेश भाई, हाँ बोलो, आपका पोर्टफोलियो ऊपर है क्या?
हाँ सर, ऊपर है.
कितना ऊपर है
सर?
आपके पास में अड्डा नहीं होगा, बराबर है?
नहीं है सर.
तो
सर वही है, आप लोग जो रिकमेंड करते हो, कोचीन शिपयार्ड, मजगांव डॉक, GE शिपिंग, गॉडफ्रे फिलिप्स, KSB पंप.
ओके, ऊपर से नीचे या सेम है?
सर टॉप, आज तो कोचीन बढ़ने के कारण टॉप पे बैठा हुआ है.
ओके, चलिए, तो ये मेरा स्टेटमेंट गलत पड़ गया. सबका पोर्टफोलियो बड़ा तेजी से बढ़ रहा है.
सर बस एक
और
पॉइंट और हाईलाइट करना था सर. अपन लोगों के बीच में GE शिपिंग के लिए भी बात हुई थी, टैंकर स्टॉक्स की.
सर वो स्टॉक के बारे में बाद में बात करेंगे.
ओके सर.
तो मैं बोल रहा था कि अपने वहाँ ज्यादातर 75% या 60 के बीच में प्रमोटर लोग के पास. उधर कोई बड़ी कंपनी का ऐसा नहीं होता, पूरा फ्री फ्लोट है. यहाँ पे प्रमोटर शेयर लेता है, उधर प्रमोटर शेयर बेचता है। तो वो अमेजोन वाले ने कितना शेयर बेच दिया, वो किसी को मालूम है क्या? कितना बेचा? बिलियन, 2 बिलियन, बिलियन, 2 बिलियन, बिलियन, बिलियन। और उनकी एक्स वाइफ मैकेंजी, उसने तो लगभग बहुत बेच दिया और चैरिटी कर दिया। अपने वहां तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। अपना बाजार एक क्या बोलते हैं, चिंकू पिंकू बाजार है, इसमें कुछ आनी जानी नहीं है। और क्या बोलना था? चलो समझ भाई, आपका कुछ बात है तो बोलो।
सर गला खराब है तो आज के दिन नहीं बोलूंगा सर। कंटिन्यूस नहीं बोल सकता सर।
ओके। गगनदीप भाई,
पोर्टफोलियो
आपको
जी सर।
पोर्टफोलियो मेरा 9% डाउन है।
नहीं, वो तो देवेश भाई तो ऊपर से आएगा ना, उसका पोर्टफोलियो ऊपर ही है।
पोर्टफोलियो के अंदर सारे स्टॉक ही डाउन है, मार्केट सिर्फ चल रही है। और मार्केट मेरे को जो लगता है वो मैनिपुलेशन में ही चल रही है, ये मैं आपसे एग्री करता हूँ। बट मुझे आपसे एक सवाल ये करना है कि हम बोलते हैं सर 12,000 आएगा, बट उसका टाइम फ्रेम किसी को नहीं पता ना, अभी जो मार्केट चल रहा है।
नहीं, देखिए, ये जब मैं बोलता हूँ 12,000, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट इंडिकेट्स कि मार्केट इज यूजली ओवर प्राइस्ड।
बिल्कुल है।
आप 12,000 पे अटको मत, उसके पीछे का भावार्थ समझो। और नहीं समझना है तो मैं बोलता हूँ आएगा 12,000, चलो ना। और
सर वो आएगा।
नहीं, सपोज नहीं आता है, 50,000 हो जाता है निफ्टी, तो आप थोड़ी मेरा खून कर दोगे।
नहीं, आपका व्यू बिल्कुल सही है सर, आपका
नहीं,
ओपिनियन अपना हो सकता है, बिल्कुल हर किसी का अपना है।
नहीं, बहुत लोग टाइमलाइन पे आके गाली देते हैं।
हाँ नहीं, वो तो गलत है सर।
ये शेयर बाजार है, आप लोग एक समझो बात को। ये शेयर बाजार है जहां पर पैसे वाले आते हैं। कोई कड़ का आदमी को एंट्री नहीं है इधर। ओके,
बिल्कुल।
और पुराने वक्तों से 1980 के पहले से जो लोग भी आते थे ना बाजार में, वो ठीक है, साधारण घर से आते थे ये, पर उन्होंने मैच्योरिटी बहुत था। सामने कुछ बोलेंगे नहीं, गाली गलौज नहीं करेंगे। वही सिलसिला 2011, 12, 13, 16 तक। फिर तो ये पता नहीं ट्विटर पे कौन फंटूस लोग आता है, और मैं ज्यादातर देखता हूँ वो 0 फॉलोअर्स होता है या 1 फॉलोअर होता है, वैसे ही लोग वो मतलब आईडी बना के भेजते हैं। अरे भाई, खुले आम गाली दो ना, क्यों घबराते हो? मैं
एक्चुअली मार्केट गिर भी इसीलिए नहीं रहा सर, सोशल मीडिया पे इतना हाइप हो चुका है कि गिरेगा गिरेगा गिरेगा।
हाँ, नहीं, ये आपने अच्छा बात बोला। एक्सिस बैंक का रिजल्ट आया, तूफान मच गया, 920 हो गया, सब लोग ने ले लिया। भाव आज क्या था मालूम नहीं है, तो 840-50 जो भी हो।
840-50 बीच में रहा था सर।
हाँ, तो अभी 6, 7, 8 दिन हुआ, उसमें तो महाबेन हो गया। उसके बाद में आया मारुति। मैं गलती से बोल दिया मारुति इज वेरी मच ओवर प्राइस्ड, इट शुड बी अराउंड 2,000 रुपीज। ये बाप रे बाप, एक गाली पे गाली, गाली पे गाली। मैं बोला ठीक है, जा। तो अभी वो जितना भी दिन हुआ, 10-12 दिन, 9,850 वाला 9,000 है। अभी लॉस किसको गया? मेरे को नहीं गया। फिर आया स्टेट, माय गॉड क्या रिजल्ट है ये। अरे मैं बोला 3-4 करोड़ कॉल है, मर जाओगे। बोले नहीं, तुम पागल है। आज हो गया 600 वापस,
605 आया। हाँ,
भाई साहब 600 हुआ था। डोंट आर्ग्यू अबाउट सच थिंग्स ना, 5 या 0 में क्या फर्क पड़ता है?
हाँ नहीं वो तो है ही है सर।
नहीं तो ओके, द पॉइंट इज यहाँ पे एक्साइट होके अगर आपने कुछ ले लिया, समझ लो आप काम से गया। प्लीज exercise caution. This is a very much unnatural market. ये जो पैसा आप लगाते हो ना, आपका है, आपकी फैमिली का पैसा है, सोच समझ के लगाना प्लीज। और ये जितना भी सब लोग बोलता है ना, मार्केट विल गो डाउन ओनली, चलो 52 वीक हाई हो गया, ऑल टाइम हाई होएगा, बाद में क्या है? एक हम लोग के टाइम में वो कोई भी रिजल्ट आवे, अच्छा बुरा कुछ भी, बेचने का, क्यों बोले अभी क्या है, आप नाउ व्हाट, फॉर 3 months नाउ व्हाट? सो इफ यू आर a trader, please don't go long unnecessarily. No money is made in long.
सर इससे मैं थोड़ा असहमत हूँ, सॉरी टू से दिस।
नहीं नहीं, आप सहमत हो या नहीं हो, मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है।
ट्रेडर को तो सर दोनों चीजें करनी है ना। आप
नहीं
एक
नहीं,
लॉन्ग टर्म
अरे
इन्वेस्टर
भाई भाई
डाउन
भाई
नहीं हो
भाई
सर।
भाई भाई, एक मिनट। कायदे से मैं भी रिटेल हूँ।
बिल्कुल।
बोलिए अभी क्या गाली देना है आपको?
नहीं गाली तो सर यहाँ पे है ही नहीं ना, गाली का काम ही नहीं है ना, मैं आपको दूंगा
नहीं
ना आप।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, गाली मतलब रिटेल, चलो।
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
हम्म।
मैं रिस्पेक्ट करता हूँ सर आपकी बहुत ज्यादा।
अरे छोड़ो ना, चलो ना, बात करो ना यार, कुछ सुनने का है मेरे को आपसे।
हाँ मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि ट्रेडर के लिए सर आप बोल रहे हो ना लॉन्ग नहीं जाना, ट्रेडर ने लॉन्ग में पैसा बनाया है, हालांकि मैं शॉर्ट में हूँ अभी, बट ट्रेडर ने पैसा लॉन्ग में ही बनाया है। ट्रेडर को तो जो दिखेगा वो करेगा सर। अब लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टर अगर कोई है, उसको यहाँ पे बुक कर लेना चाहिए। ये बेस्ट स्ट्रेटजी तो यही है कि सब कुछ हटा के बैठ जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि यहाँ से मार्केट गिरना ही है, एक बार के लिए तो गिरेगा। ओवर वैल्यूड है, एग्रीड है, बट ट्रेडर को जो दिखेगा वो करेगा ना सर।
अरे कौन ट्रेडर ने लॉन्ग करके कमाया? तुम भी क्या बात करते हो? ये निफ्टी का बात मैं नहीं करता हूँ, प्लीज स्टॉक के बारे में बात करता हूँ।
स्टॉक तो सर चल ही नहीं रहे ना, स्टॉक तो कोई भी नहीं चल रहा।
हाँ तो
बिल्कुल है।
आई वाज
और
रेफरिंग टू स्टॉक्स।
हाँ नहीं, मैं इंडेक्स के बारे में बात कर रहा हूँ सर।
नहीं नहीं, देखिए मेरे लिए क्या है मालूम है, जब आप बोलते हो ना कि मैं सिर्फ इंडेक्स में करता हूँ, मैं समझ जाता हूँ कि आपको कोई नॉलेज नहीं है बाजार का। चलिए एनीवे, थैंक यू सो मच।
ठीक है सर।
अंकित लोहिया जी बोलिए।
गुड इवनिंग सर समद भाई, गुड इवनिंग सर। भाव को देखते हुए लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट शॉर्ट की तरफ भी तो बनता है। ये कोई क्यों नहीं सोचता? आज जब माल बिक रहा है तब ये बेच नहीं रहे हैं, कल यदि कोई लेने का वांदा पड़ेगा तब ये बेचेंगे किसको? आज अगले 2-3 हजार पॉइंट के लिए यदि निफ्टी शॉर्ट करके रखे, हर महीने वांदा भी मिलेगा 100-150 पॉइंट का, और इनको यदि रोल करना है तो 100-150 पॉइंट देना पड़ता है।
हाँ तो
सर शॉर्ट में बैठना बहुत लंबा पड़ता है, पेशेंस रखना पड़ता है। लॉन्ग में बंदा फिर निकल जाता है और ये पता होता है प्राइसेस आ जाएंगे। शॉर्ट में अभी तक देखो ना 12,000 नहीं आया ना सर निफ्टी में।
नहीं, अगले
प्रॉब्लम
अगले
ये है
अगले
शॉर्ट में।
3-4 हजार पॉइंट तो सर नीचे में है, ऊपर
सर देखो
21-22 हजार
20,000
के लिए
जाके
कल ही
गिरेगा।
बैठेंगे।
who is arguing? चलिए मैं बताता हूँ। मेरा 10,000 निफ्टी माथे है, और तकरीबन 7200 से मेरा निफ्टी माथे है। 6 साल हो गए। आप बताओ, मैं 7 स्टेप ऊपर का कॉल पुट बेचता हूँ, उसमें आता है 100 रुपया। कैरी फॉरवर्ड में आता है 100 रुपया, चलो ये मान लीजिए 200 रुपया, आप गिनती कर लीजिए।
तो सर आगे तो आप ही हो ना।
हाँ, नहीं तो उतना तुम्हारे में पेशेंस चाहिए भूल
सर
जाने का।
सर मैं भाव को देखते हुए ये कह रहा हूँ सर, ये आज के भाव को देखते हुए ये चीज कह रहा हूँ।
अरे भाई, आज तू बोलेगा ना 50 निफ्टी बेचो, 50 मैं नहीं बेचूंगा, क्योंकि अपना कैपेसिटी जितना था उतना हो गया। अभी एक शेयर नहीं बढ़ाने का है या कम करना है। द पॉइंट इज, ये जो कैरी फॉरवर्ड चार्जेस बोलते हैं, कंटेंगो बोलते हैं, इट किल्स यू। खाया पिया कुछ नहीं, ग्लास फोड़ा 8 आने का, ऐसा है। आप पूरा साल का टोटल मारा, बोले किधर गया पैसा, इतना निफ्टी ऊपर है तो आया ही नहीं कुछ, वो चला गया तुम्हारा कंटेंगो में, वो चला गया ब्रोकरेज में। ये सब प्लीज। हाँ, और दूसरा बात, इंडियन मार्केट्स are the most expensive markets to for trading. The charges are humongous. आपकी, अगर आप निफ्टी किया, 5-7 पॉइंट तो खर्चा और दलाली लग जाता है, तो क्या आएगा क्या तुम्हारे हाथ में? आप जितना ट्रेडिंग कम करोगे फायदे में रहोगे, आपका मगज का संतुलन ठीक रहेगा। नहीं तो ऐसे पागलों की तरह घूमोगे। एंड सी, मैं तो बोलता हूँ, अगर आपके पास पैसा है, डिलीवरी लो ना यार। वायदा में कौन खेलता है? फाटका वाला का वैल्यू कितना? 1 पैसे का। मेरा वैल्यू कितना? 1 पैसे का। फाटके वाले का कोई वैल्यू ही नहीं है। वैल्यू है जो शेयर लेता है या शेयर बेचता है, उसका वैल्यू है। तो आप सबसे विनती है कि अगर आप सट्टा करते हो, मैं कोरे कागज पे लिख के देता हूँ, कोरे कागज पे, कि आप पैसा नहीं बनाओगे, और बना भी लिया गलती से तो वो चार्जेस और कंटेंगो में चला जाएगा। एक किड भाई एक बार बोला था कि इंडियन होटल अच्छा लगता है। पता नहीं वो क्या मेरे दिमाग में आया, क्योंकि 2004 में 8% स्टेक था, तो नॉलेज है थोड़ा। मैं बोला 346 के ऊपर मुश्किल है। साला सच पड़ गया। So the point being, everything has a value and everything has a price. If you don't understand value, you will be out of this market. Price, every Tom, Dick and Harry knows. Everybody knows. But the true value of shares, very few people know. ये साहब बोलते थे किरीट भाई, मेरे को जेके पेपर, तो ध्यान से देखा तो बहुत वैल्यू है, तो वो वैल्यू वाला स्टॉक लो। ये प्राइस देख के खेलते रहते हो, निफ्टी ऊपर नीचे, क्या है तुम? जुआरी है, एक नंबर का जुगारी है। और जो ऑप्शन खेलते हैं ना, अगर मेरे सामने मिले ना, मारू पकड़ के, अरे क्या कर रहा है तू? ऑप्शन बेचता है, जेब में 5 लाख भी नहीं और ऑप्शन बेचता है, इंश्योरेंस देता है सामने वाले को। ऑप्शन है, सेलिंग इज लाइक इंश्योरिंग somebody. You cannot insure. You don't have, first of all, the knowledge. You don't have the ability, and you don't have the required capacity. ये अभी समझो 10,000 निफ्टी आपको करना है, तो आपको मार्जिन लगेगा 2.5 करोड़ रुपया। 2.5 या जो भी है उसके आसपास। मैं बोलता हूँ आपके पास में 10 करोड़ है ना, तो आप 10,000 का बेचिए, वरना मत बेचिए। इधर मैं देखता हूँ सब लोग 8-10 हजार तो ऐसा करता है, पता नहीं मेरे को समझ में आता है नींद कैसे आता है लोग। Why do you sell options? Nobody is stupid enough to pay you a premium just for the heck of it. Okay? हाँ ठीक है, वो सब नए नए लोग आए, जुगारी लोग कि ऑप्शन ले लो ले लो, अरे काय को लेता है वो, चलो मान लिया। But most of the people are hedging their bets via option. If I am buying Nifty at 18,500, I will buy a put of 18,000 because of two things: unforeseen circumstances. Secondly, my margin requirement is almost one fourth. Or I sell at 18,000, I buy a 19,000 call. So I am buying for a purpose. You are selling because you are getting free money. Take it from me. There is no free lunch. And I am making a very bold statement. Most of the option writers have a lifespan of 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years max. उसके बाद वो नहीं दिखेंगे आपको बाजार में. They will not be here. Option writing is the most dangerous thing in the world. It's like selling insurance. चलिए दवेश भाई, आपको क्या बोलना है?
सर वही जी शिपिंग का भी रिजल्ट
नहीं
आएगा।
वो छोड़िए छोड़िए छोड़िए, और
सर
कुछ
बाकी
बोलना है?
आपके व्यू से सर मैं एग्री करता हूँ। मेरे पोर्टफोलियो लेवल का डिस्कशन और उस पे नहीं जाते, पर ओवरऑल मेरे पोर्टफोलियो ऑल टाइम हुए बावजूद भी मुझे बाजार में डर लग रहा है। और बाजार में डर इस चीज का है कि जो कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल हो गई है और जो चीजें रोज यूएस रेट बढ़ाएगा, तो इंडिया में भी उसका इफेक्ट आना है और उससे डिमांड हैम्पर होगी। उसको कोई मतलब 2008 की बात करें और आज की बात करें तो सबके पास ज्यादा एक्सपोजर है क्रेडिट का, और क्रेडिट ड्रिवन इकोनॉमी में जब रेट बढ़ता, डिमांड।
क्या हुआ?
हेलो।
क्या
हाँ
हुआ?
सर, आवाज आ रही है?
आ रही है।
तो सर वो इशू है ही। और अब आप भले आपकी कंपनी डेट फ्री भी हो या कुछ भी हो, एक प्रॉब्लम तो आती है डिमांड साइड। जब इशू आता है तो अच्छी अच्छी कंपनियां प्रॉफिट नहीं ला पाती है, तो वो वैल्यूएशन सबने ऐसे ले लिए जैसे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, और प्रॉब्लम है अभी। मतलब आप 3 रेट हाइक के बाद बाजार सब जगह ठंडे हो जाते थे, अभी 4 रेट हाइक हो चुकी है और फिर भी निफ्टी नए हाइस के पास में। दैट इज वरीसम।
नहीं वरीसम कुछ नहीं है। ये मैं ट्रेंड का रिजल्ट एनालाइज कर रहा था।
हाँ,
लास्ट ईयर 1150 करोड़ का टर्नओवर किया और 80 करोड़ कमाया। इस टाइम 1950 करोड़ का टर्नओवर किया और 78 करोड़ कमाया। इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि जितना ज्यादा टर्नओवर होगा उतना लॉस, अरे प्रॉफिट कम होता जाएगा। तो ऐसी कंपनियां लेके क्या करोगे? किधर डालोगे? आजू बाजू वाले में डालोगे क्या? ये सब शेयर लेके क्या करोगे? ये जीएनएफसी का रिजल्ट आया, अगर आपको थोड़ा सा भी नॉलेज है ना, ये 100 रुपया हो जाए, कुछ नहीं है। हजार्डस प्रोडक्ट बनाता है विच इज बैंड इन द वर्ल्ड। खाली 3 जगह या 4 जगह पे अलाउड है। एक मित्सुबिशी को है, एक बासफ जर्मनी में है, और एक जन है बस, और अपना जीएनएफसी। वो तो ठीक है, बट ऐसा रिजल्ट 600 का भाव, क्या आपका पैसे का वैल्यू नहीं है क्या? कि आप ये सब जाके ले लेते हो, ले ना अच्छा वाला कोई शेयर, ले ना कहना मेटल ले, छाती ठोक के बोलता हूँ 20,000 हो जाएगा, ऐसा सब शेयर। ये अभी एबीबी का रिजल्ट देखा, 8 क्वार्टर का 200 करोड़ या जो भी आया, नहीं मालूम, आई थिंक सो 200 ही था, 190 था, तो 67,000 करोड़ मार्केट कैप। मैं साला 33,000 में निकाला तो लोग हंसता था, नहीं 33 नहीं, 28,000 में, 67,000, व्हाट, मतलब 800 करोड़ कमाएगा तो 85 का पी देगा, 85 पी means 85 p means it will take 85 years to recoup your investment. कर लो, मैं तो जिंदा नहीं रहूंगा तब तक क्या है? So the point is, do you know what you are paying for? एक किरीट भाई ने बोला मैं ले लिया, अरे भाई ऐसा नहीं होता है, आप स्टडी करो, थोड़ा खुद का दिमाग लगाओ, किसी के बोलने पे मत लो, आगे पीछे का देखो, हिस्ट्री ज्योग्राफी देखो, and Indian markets, barring few economy stocks, are not worthwhile to invest for long term. Yes, you are a trader, you don't have an alternative like me, so you trade, but to take delivery of Axis Bank at 840 or 850, you must be joking. With such poor valuations, it signifies that it has to go down. चलिए, थक गया, किरण भाई आप बोलिए।
हाँ जी, थैंक यू शरद भाई फॉर गिविंग मी अ चांस।
अरे क्या तुम भी यार,
वेल आई हैव डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन, बट लेट मी स्टार्ट ऑफ। आपने ऑप्शंस की बात कही, आई एम वेरी मच इन एग्रीमेंट विद दैट, बिकॉज द ग्रेटेस्ट एंड द मोस्ट जीनियस विक्टर लीडर हॉफर, जो मैं काफी स्पीचेस में कहता हूँ, वन कैन गो एंड रीड हिज हिस्ट्री, आई फुली एग्री। I am yet to see somebody making it big globally or even in India, who's really made it big by selling options. जब मैं इंडिया की बात करता हूँ तो मैं बात करता हूँ आरजी की, रमेश दमानी की, वल्लभ बंसाली की, and the likes of best traders, और अतुल सूरी और some fund managers. But let's also understand one thing where I disagree with you is कि historically you tell me कौन सा short seller in the last 100 years has become the richest man of the world. Jesse Livermore died bankrupt. उसका कारण whoever is read will know. Okay, Jim Chanos is an average thing, yeah. And even if you look at Carl Icahn, who's either long or either short, but he historically admits that I made the biggest money on the long side. Okay, the question is not what is good and what is bad. A short trade can 100 वाली चीज 0 जा सकती है, पर 3 वाली चीज 3,000 गई है। I mean, a stock like Infosys has gone up 100x. Secondly, आप ये कहते हैं कि आप डिलीवरी लेके बैठो, ट्रेडिंग आपको, yes, you made a very valid point. राकेश जी भी वही कहते थे कि बेटा ट्रेडिंग मत करो। If you hear his last video, he very clearly said कि ट्रेडिंग मत करो। तो बंदा पूछता है कि भाई आप करते, हमको ना बोलते, पापा विस्की पीते तो मैं क्यों नहीं विस्की पीता हूँ। It's a very famous video. But if a legend like Rakesh Jhunjhunwala says, जो आपके अच्छे मित्र थे, so there is some reason which I validate your point very well. But अगर
before you go any further, I never suggested to short anything.
नहीं. See, when you said I listen patiently, so give me also the chance. Even I listen to you patiently when you have your setup. वेरी एक्सप्लेनेशन मुझे अनइंटरप्टेड कंप्लीट करनी थी. ओके. मेरा सिर्फ कहना ये है कि व्हाई इज द मार्केट एट 18,300. जब ग्लोबल मार्केट, यूएस मार्केट has corrected 20%, globally if you see markets have corrected anywhere between 18 and 24%, why have we not corrected? Is it manipulated? Yes, you may say it is manipulated, but why is it up? What matters is कि सैकड़े में जो भाव दिखता है. आप तो इतने पुराने खिलाड़ी हैं, आप इस बाजार के बादशाह हैं, जिसने अनिल अंबानी को हिला दिया. So I don't need to tell you that. I'm just a kid in front of you. सैकड़े में जो भाव दिखता है उसका एक रीजन है. इवेंचुअली स्टॉक्स की आप खुद कहते हैं कि आप मत शॉर्ट करो या ये करो, तो जो भी है, बट बेसिकली यू से यू इन्वेस्ट. अभी इसी आप एक्सेस की बात लेंगे एट 860 हु विल बाय? Maybe you got a point. What if it goes to 2000? That's my question. So why do we, the question I think, जो मैंने मेरे 20 साल के करियर में देखा है, वी आर मोर इंटरेस्टेड, ये मैं आपकी नहीं बात कर रहा हूँ, एक जनरल बात कर रहा हूँ. वी आर मोर इंटरेस्टेड इन बीइंग राइट rather than making money. That is the reason where 98%, why 98% of people lose money. You've made your biggest money by going long. Yes, you did short some of the companies, and this record is officially available. जो चीज 18 जा सकती है वो 10 भी आएगी, बट द क्वेश्चन इज, जैसे मैं कुछ दिन पहले किसी का सुन रहा था, कह रहा 18,300 18,500 से ज्यादा नहीं जाना है, उसको आना 15,000 और एक साल में आएगा. फैंटास्टिक. एक साल रोल ओवर कैरी कर सकता है कोई? जो कहने वाला है वो खुद कैरी करेगा? Why are we always, जब भी बाजार 300 पॉइंट ऊपर जाएगा तो सबको बेचना है, जब भी बाजार 400 पॉइंट नीचे जाएगा तो सबको खरीदना है. By that way, I think by that logic, even the best of fund managers should become an intraday trader. And if option selling has so much money, तो फंड इंडस्ट्री बंद हो जानी चाहिए, बिकॉज एक फंड कितना पैसा देता है? अगर आप 6 साल का एवरेज देखेंगे 12 से 15% देता है. In a good year like 2020, an outlier year, it would have been 18%. But CAGR, if you see, it doesn't go exceed 15-17%. वो तो आपने stars, they give it to you in a week's time. एक expiry में उतना पैसा देते हैं. Why doesn't the mutual fund industry go bust? I think, what makes sense is, you go with the flow, go with the trend. If the trend is up, जीत करके कोई मतलब नहीं है. It's like one will get killed and killed big time. कल अगर बाजार का ट्रेंड बदल जाएगा, and what is a trader's job? You don't marry an opinion. Opinions don't make you rich. What really matters is your money on the line. आप जैसे कितने हैं शरद भाई जिनने 10,000 में निफ्टी बेची है और 18,000 में खरीदी? मैं 2 को जानता हूँ. They are good friends of mine, so I know them. And you're the third person who openly admitted, and I know you. इसके अलावा अगर इस स्पेसेस में जो 500-700 लोग सुन रहे हैं, how many of them 50 पॉइंट नहीं खड़े रहेंगे? Stocks can keep going up. Yes, इंडियन होटल वाली बिल्कुल आपकी बात सही थी. Yes, मैंने मजगांव डॉक भी दिया 450 में, 450 वाला 8 तो हो गया. Did I know it?
Yes, you had mentioned it, I remember.
Yes, and I also admit with you very openly, आज मेरी शरद भाई किसी से डिस्कशन हो रही थी, तो मैंने भी ये कहा 15,200 की निफ्टी 18,300 है, कौन सा स्टॉक में पैसा मिला दिख नहीं रहा है. आई एम बीइंग वेरी ओपन. मतलब अगर मैं पीछे पलट के देखूं, मैं देखो 5-10% में नहीं निकलता हूँ. अपने को चाहिए अगर कमाओ तो बड़ा कमाओ, वरना मत कमाओ, वरना नहीं होता है. तो स्टॉक्स हैवंट मूव्ड मच. जो भी है, नॉट दैट वी मिस द रैली. हम थोड़ा लेट एंटर करेंगे. मैंने HCL टेक खरीदा था 1020 में, आज 1090 का भाव है. 7%. आई विल नॉट एक्सेप्ट 7%. मैं तो चाहूंगा वो आकाश में जाए, 2000 जाए. अब मेरे बोलने से तो नहीं जाएगा वो, बट जब तक बाजार कर रहा है तो आई विल फॉलो द रूट. दैट प्योरली माय थिंकिंग, बिकॉज मैंने वो तमाम गलतियां की है शरद भाई जो एक ट्रेडर करता है. मैं भी वही स्कूल ऑफ थॉट्स में था. एंड मैं एक पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस भी शेयर करना चाहता हूँ कि अक्सर आई हैव सीन विद न्यू कमर्स, जो 2-2.5 साल, दे आर मोर इंक्लाइंड टुवर्ड्स मंदी। मैं ट्विटर में देखता हूँ सब एक लंबी लकीर खींचते 2 दिन पहले तक 18,300 नहीं जाएगा, 18,000 के नीचे आएगा। अभी कल की बात ले लो, इट वेंट बिलो 18,000। 80% ऑफ द सिस्टम ट्रेडर्स इंक्लूडिंग मी, जिसके शॉर्ट टर्म सिस्टम में, तो सिग्नल वाज वेरी क्लियर, इट वाज अ शॉर्ट ट्रेड। जो लॉन्ग टर्म ट्रेंड फॉलोअर है, जो 400-500 रुपए का स्टॉप लॉस दूर रखते हैं, उनके लिए नहीं था। आपको ये बात ट्विटर एक्सपर्ट के लिए लागू नहीं होती, बिकॉज ट्विटर में कोई नहीं पैसा होता है, वो सिर्फ कमाते हैं। अब आज जब सरप्राइजिंगली डाउ इन्फ्लेशन नंबर की वजह से नैस्डैक 6%, 7% ऊपर, डाउ ऊपर, एवरीबॉडी वाज कॉट ऑन द रॉन्ग साइड इंक्लूडिंग मी। वो चीज बाहर नहीं आती है, क्योंकि वो कल रात से ही लॉन्ग थे जब निफ्टी देख के, जो डाउ देखा या सिंगापुर निफ्टी देखा। It is not easy. Let me tell you very honestly, 2022 calendar year 22 has been a tough year. जो 300-500 पॉइंट गैप अप गैप डाउन होता है, दिस इज फॉर ओवरनाइट ट्रेडर। अब फिर आदमी कहेगा कि नहीं, then इंट्रा इज द बेस्ट। आई एम सॉरी टू से दैट, but statistically less than 0.5% people make money trading intraday. That's it, Sharad bhai. This was my view and nothing against any gentleman. This is what I felt need to be said for you.
No,
Thank you. Over to you, Sharad bhai. हाँ जी।
2-3 things. Always in my spaces, I say you should not speculate.
100% I agree.
And most of it, short selling is an art. Don't do it. You should have minimum 30-40 years of experience, then only you short. So I don't encourage anybody to short, trade, nothing, option writing, nothing. Plain vanilla lecture, buy shares, good shares, sell good shares, this, and don't buy overpriced shares. That's my thinking. और एक दूसरा बात है किरीट भाई, कि for me at this time and age and all that, this is all time pass. Trading time pass है, सब time pass है मेरे लिए. But for newcomers, conserve your energy, conserve your money. Don't throw it away on your whims. Impulsive trading मत करो. Impulse रोकने के लिए सबसे अच्छा तरीका बताता हूँ. आपको मगज में कोई भी आइडिया आता है, आप रुक जाओ, आप मनी कंट्रोल पे जाओ, उसका इक्विटी देखो, ईपीएस देखो, मार्केट कैप देखो, उसका टर्नओवर देखो, बाद में आप सौदा करो. इतने टाइम में आपका दिमाग भी शांत हो जाएगा और आप रैशनल डिसीजन ले पाओगे. सो दिस इज व्हाट इट इज. और किरीट भाई, आई एम स्ट्रिक्टली एनीबडी playing FNO, okay? Don't do what I do, say what I do. Lord Krishna.
Absolutely. I fully agree with your view. I mean, you definitely made. See, I made it very clear कि भाई it is nothing personal. देखो आपका एक व्यू,
अरे किरीट भाई, अरे
आप इस बाजार के 40 साल के बादशाह हो सर, हम कल के
अरे मैं क्या, अरे किरीट भाई एक मिनट रुक जाओ अभी. ये जो आप इतना फॉर्मल रहते हो ना, उसका कोई जरूरत नहीं है. आपके और मेरे बीच में क्या
नहीं सर, ऐसा है, देखिए
कुछ
भले
भी है.
नहीं सर, ऐसा है, भले बाहर कुछ भी हो दुनिया में, हमारा इंडियन शास्त्र ये कहता है कि इज्जत बहुत बड़ी चीज होती है, और हम सालों से उसे फॉलो करते आ रहे हैं. ओके, बट देन एवरीवन हैज अ व्यू, करेक्ट? अब सही या गलत वो समय बताता है.
नहीं समय नहीं बताएगा.
और महाभारत भी वही कहता है, समय बड़ा बलवान. अब बाजार कहाँ जाएगा क्या? एंड I mean, without naming anybody, people say कि markets can be predicted. I mean, what nonsense. I have a very simple thing to say. इस बात को आपने भी नकारा है. अगर कोई शख्स ये कहता है the markets can be predicted in the long run, अब 2-3 बार सही जाओगे. मैंने भी 2-3 बार टॉप बॉटम पकड़े हैं, मतलब 20-25% of the time, but that is sheerly luck.
No,
And
हाँ बोलिए.
And if markets can be predicted, Sharad Bhai, then he will be the richest man of the world.
No, it's not like that. I may predict that Nifty will.
Then you see, that is your view. You never predict. You never predict. Sharad Bhai has never come and said कि ये बहुत बड़ा आसान है या ये चीज वो चीज. एक व्यू होना अलग बात है, करेक्ट. और व्यू होना doesn't make you wrong. I mean, even the US experts like Carl Icahn, Stanley Druckenmiller, Ray Dalio, if you go and just do a Google search, पिछले 20 दिन, एक महीने पहले they were saying that you will see one of the worst markets, one of the worst bear markets. Right, Sharad bhai? आपको भी पता ही है बात. I mean, Carl Icahn कभी नहीं बोलता. वो आके बोला, that is what shook me to the root. पर वो भी गलत जाते हैं. वो doesn't, even they know. Rakesh RJ has openly come and said कि whatever money I have made is I have made by going right just about 30-34% of the time. You know it better, Sharad bhai. आप अपने खुद के टाइमलाइन में लिखते हो I go wrong 85% of the time. लिखते कि नहीं लिखते हो?
हाँ लिखता हूँ. 87.
Then why? Yes, 87. Yes. Then why are you such a famous personality? By that definition, you should be going right 87% of the time.
मस्करी कर.
अरे बस क्या सर, जो फोर्ब्स लिस्ट के रिचेस्ट आदमी को घुटनों पे ला सकता है.
अरे वो छोड़ो ना बात को. मैं क्या बोलता हूँ सर,
बोलो सर.
एक बात है, ये अपने लोग जितना भी डिस्कस करते हैं ना, आई वांट टू क्लैरिफाई वन थिंग कि 60 या 70% of my trades are based on intuition.
Absolutely.
And 30-40% trades are thought out. So the thought out trades generally end up in a loss. And what intuition says is right.
And that's what history says. The most successful traders say it is intuition that works well for me. आजकल दूसरा एक नया भूत निकला है एल्गो का. मुझे बताओ पिछले 1.5 महीने में जो गैप अप और गैप डाउन हुए शरद भाई, कितने एल्गो ने प्रेडिक्ट किया?
किरीट भाई छोड़ो नहीं यार, काय को टाइम पर. अरे अगर मशीन सक्सेसफुल हो सकता है तो आप और मैं क्यों मरवाता है?
तो आपके दोस्त ने क्या कहा था इस बात को लेके? राकेश भाई ने, Rakesh bhai had gone, had a session at Ashoka University. So somebody asked him about algo. So Rakesh bhai ne kaha, it's nothing but like a programmed trick. अब यार इतना बड़ा शख्स कह रहा है, कुछ तो मतलब है.
नहीं वो ठीक है यार. वो algo में क्या कर सकता है? वो लाइट बंद चालू करने का है तो ठीक है, उसके लिए algo लिखो. ट्रेडिंग में 50 लाख आल्गो होंगे, एक भी सक्सेसफुल नहीं होता है. वो बहुत लोग को मिर्ची लगेगा, बट एनीवे आल्गो इज वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम. एंड सी, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इफ यू वांट टू राइट एन आल्गो, ओके, यू शुड बी एन एक्सपर्ट इन दिस फील्ड. आपको तो एक्सपीरियंस भी नहीं है और एक्सपर्टीज भी नहीं है और आप आल्गो लिखे जा रहे हो. अरे क्या लिखोगे? अगर आपको आल्गो लिखना है ना तो मेरे को पूछिए. जो दिमाग में बात आती है वो सब बात आल्गो में होनी चाहिए. वो तो पॉसिबल है ही नहीं, तो कहाँ से सक्सेसफुल बनेगा? एनीवे, आल्गो इज रियली नो गुड. चलिए अंकित भाई, आपका हो गया.
So can I say something?
हाँ, yes, always.
हाँ सर, ये किरण भाई जो बोल रहे थे कि शॉर्ट सेलिंग ये जो है ना अभी आज के दिन, आई जस्ट गिव एन एग्जांपल कि लेट अस से पीपल आर मोस्ट पीपल विल बी शॉर्ट ऑन निफ्टी। अभी तुम निफ्टी पे शॉर्ट करते तो 300 पॉइंट तो चड्डी उतर जाती, सीधा सीधी बात है सबसे पहले तो। बट देन एट द सेम टाइम इफ यू आर लेट अस से शॉर्ट ऑन स्टॉक्स, अभी देख लो आज आयशर का अर्निंग था, मतलब कल था, एंड देन टुडे द रिएक्शन वाज दैट लेट्स से यू वर शॉर्ट ऑन दैट एंड देन यू वर शॉर्ट इंडियन होटल्स। एंड अभी आजकल का जो ट्रेंड चल रहा है सिंस द लास्ट 10-15 डेज, जो जो भी बुरे रिजल्ट आ रहा है ना उसको तुम जाके ठोकोगे तो तुमको मिलेगा 5-6% 10% तक मिल सकता है। that but then the entire thing boils down to the sizing of the position, as you were saying कि short selling में पैसा नहीं बनता है या नहीं। so the entire game is कि how much do you make when you write, let us say you catch a 10% move and then you make only X amount of money, but when you have the conviction on that trade, let us say you play it with 10 times the quantity, so X becomes 10X, and then the second the part is where that is where your holding capacity comes in. So let us say आप बोलोगे कि मेरे को बस 5% चाहिए, 5% मेरा हो गया, बस निकल गए, काम खत्म। But at the same time let us say कि जैसे स्टॉक लाइक JNFC, वो आज खुला 5% डाउन, but then it ended up going to almost 11% down by the end of the day. Indian होटल खुला था nothing, it was like flat भी नहीं, ऊपर ही खुला था वैसे तो, और वहाँ से घुसा 8%। तो these are things which most people do not understand कि बोलते हैं कि शॉर्ट सेलिंग में मतलब इट्स नॉट दैट पैसा बनता है नहीं बनता, इट्स डिफरेंट स्टोरी।
नहीं, अभिषेक,
हाँ सर,
आप जो सोचते हो ना वो कितना लोग सोचता है। नहीं, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल दे डोंट अंडरस्टैंड द रिजल्ट्स, दे डोंट। वो निफ्टी का बात करता है, फिर वो ट्विटर पे लिखता है आई लॉस्ट 2% ऑफ माई कैपिटल। अरे पागल है क्या, 2% ऑफ द कैपिटल लॉस करूंगा मैं, जहर खा लूंगा। ऐसा लिखता है जैसे मैटर ही नहीं है 2%। अरे तुम एक ट्रेड में 2% क्या, तुमको बाजार में एक ट्रेड में लगना चाहिए 0.01%, उसे ज्यादा नहीं लगना चाहिए। क्या 2%, 3%, 2% ड्रॉडाउन, ऐसा लिखता है जैसे कोई बड़ा पराक्रम किया हो।
Any
No, sir,
further, I
this
would
conversation
like
was
to add,
with Kirit sir, ऐसे ही बस just for
yeah,
fun.
Abhishek, I would like to add one more thing. I never said don't do short selling. My statement was very clear. I said go with the trend. A trader's job is to go long as well as go short. If somebody is only biased on the long side, that is not, he's not a good trader. Or on the short side. बाजार किसी का नहीं है. We are here to make money. And also let me tell you, Victor Nieder offer था.
आपकी बात सही है, नहीं भाई, I'm not debating on you.
नहीं, let me complete. I'm telling you. देखने के बाद हमें हमेशा लगता है कि यही यहाँ बेचा होता, 5% मिलता, 10% मिलता, fair enough. How many can hold? And how many trade? You're talking of last 15 days. I'll give you data of last 20 years. I'm saying if the trend is जैसे 18,200 वाली चीज 15,300 गई जनवरी से लेके ये, every good result was being sold into. Result number अच्छे है, stop. Now on the contrary, I'll ask you. Tisco announced a bad set of numbers. Stock opened down, but the stock was up. This is one of the best signs. And similarly, in a good market, if good results get sold into, it's giving a clear and loud signal, which happened in Jan-Feb. That was the best time to go short. And I remember Sharad Bhai having said Naukri, then I think HCL Tech, or दूसरा कौन था Sharad Bhai? Tech Mahindra, correct? The way they got hammered in spite of good numbers.
Absolutely.
So you have to be ambidextrous. I mean, चीज ऊपर की तरफ।
अरे बट किरीट भाई, ये सब बोलने का बात है, और अभिषेक ये भी बोलने का बात है। पोजीशन साइजिंग, ये नॉनसेंसिकल वर्ड्स है, उल्लू का। नहीं, सुनिए ना, सुनिए। अरे आप सुनिए ना 1 मिनट।
बोलिए।
आप सौदा करते हो, जितना मार्जिन है उतना ही आपका सौदा जाएगा।
हाँ
ऑटोमेटिक साइजिंग है तुम्हारा।
हाँ
सोचने का क्या, मैं बोलता हूँ वो 100 मार, बोले रिजेक्ट, मैं बोला 80 मार, रिजेक्ट, 75 मार, ओके, तो हो गया ना साइजिंग बराबर अपना।
नहीं, बट आपने कुछ देर पहले क्या कहा कि वाई 2%, आप 10 पैसा रिस्क करते हो, मैं भी 10 पैसा रिस्क करता हूँ।
नहीं
तो अगर
बट
एक मिनट, अगर आपका 1 करोड़ का कैपिटल है, 1 करोड़ का 1% 1 लाख हो गया, 1 लाख का और 1 करोड़ का 10 पैसा हो गया 10,000, ठीक है। अगर मुझे 10 पैसे का ही रिस्क लेना है, यानी मुझे 10,000 का रिस्क लेना है, तो where does the question comes कि 75 और ये मार पे, तो you are not following, because that is the most, देखो सर,
अरे
चीज,
वो बात अलग है सर, मैं क्या बोलता हूँ, सपोज इफ माई कैपिटल, आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल यू in a different way that position sizing is done automatically of the capital allocated.
करेक्ट, बट वन नीड टू नो ना कितना करना है। सर अगर आप 1 करोड़ के कैपिटल में 10,000 ले रहे हैं, मान लो आपने इन्फोसिस को शॉर्ट, समझो चलो आपने एचसीएल टेक को शॉर्ट किया जिसका भाव 1100 रुपया है, 700 का लॉट है,
1000 रुपया।
नहीं आज 1090 आगे आ गया।
अरे नहीं ऐसे ही कैलकुलेशन।
हाँ चलो ठीक है। हाँ अगर 1000 रुपया है, अभी आप बोलते हो कि मेरे को 15 रुपए का रिस्क लेना है, 700 का लॉट है, 1500 से 10,000 हो गया, हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? अभी 10,000 रुपए का आपका रिस्क है, मतलब आपको भले ही 1 करोड़ का कैपिटल है, आप एक ही लॉट बेच सकते हो, तो आप उसमें ज्यादा लॉट कैसे बेचोगे? तभी तो आपका रिस्क विल गो फॉर अ टॉस।
ऐसा नहीं होता है ना किरीट भाई, I can bear huge loss, but in my machine I have kept a limit कि उतना होवे तो it will be 0.01% of my
नहीं बट सर हाउ डज दैट, यू एक्सप्लेन कैसे वो कैलकुलेशन बैठेगा? योर रिस्क हैज टू डिफाइंड एट द स्टार्ट, बिकॉज़ दो ही चीजें हैं, एक है ट्रेड लेना, दूसरा मुझे ये मालूम होना कि मेरे को इतना लॉस लेना है।
नहीं तो अरे अरे आप सुनते नहीं हो ना मेरी स्पेसिस, इसके लिए प्रॉब्लम होता है। Any trade I take, any trade I take, I buy an option. Suppose if I am selling HCL Tech at 1,000, I will buy an option of 1,050 call.
ठीक है।
If I am buying HCL Tech at 1,000, 5 strike down का put ही ले लूंगा। So सिस्टम में ही लॉस प्रॉफिट सब कुछ है, सेट है।
पर आप कितने रिस्क, अगर आप 10 पैसे के हिसाब से 1 करोड़ के कैपिटल में 10,000 का ही सेट आउट करोगे ना, वही तो मेरा पॉइंट है शरद भाई।
सर अरे ओके चलिए, नो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग, और देखिए मैं तो ऐसा इंसान हूं ना, और 50,000 रुपया गलती से किधर लगा ना, बाल खींचता हूँ, अपने आप को मारता हूँ, मेरे से सहन नहीं होता है, लॉस सिचुएशन नहीं सहन होता है।
अरे बाल तो अभी भी बरकरार है आपकी ये उम्र में यार।
नहीं मैं बोलता हूँ कि इतना सब कुछ होने के बाद भी एनी लॉस पिंचेस मी।
Absolutely.
That's the point.
And that's the hallmark of a successful trader. मैं भी 10 पैसे से ज्यादा का रिस्क नहीं लेता हूँ, 10 से 15 पैसा।
नहीं रिस्क तो आप ले लोगे, मैं भी ले लूंगा, पर जब वो अनफेवर होता है ना, बाल खींचता हूँ, मारता हूँ अपने आप को, समत को गाली देता हूँ, अभिषेक को तो इतना गाली देता हूँ। So I cannot bear losses. I am a very bad at taking losses, and this only helps me in making profits.
Yeah, but then you need to love your losses, because in this business, when we go right, when you go wrong 87% of the time, so you have to be mentally prepared.
No,
I mean, the problem happens, because we don't accept losses.
No. There is a problem between 9 and 3:30 to me. After 3:31, nothing bothers me. See, what will you say? I'm a crackpot, yaar. When I'm in front of the screen, I'm a 16-year-old, a body of 65. So it's great fun, yeah. All said and done, it's great funny. And byproduct is money.
Yes.
At times, super gains, and almost all times small losses.
Absolutely. That's the hallmark of a trader.
Yes.
You'll have more losing trade than winning trade. पर जब
Yes, yes.
हमारे winning trade आते, we let it run. हम 2-5 रुपए में काट के स्क्रीनशॉट नहीं डालते, हाँ?
नहीं एक्चुअली ये मुझको आता नहीं है स्क्रीनशॉट देना, क्योंकि मेरा जो सौदा होता है ना, वो आपके ऑफिस में होता है और मैं घर से ऑपरेट करता हूँ, तो स्क्रीनशॉट और मुझको आता भी नहीं है।
राइट।
आइए आप बहुत दिन हो गए आए नहीं।
हाँ, नहीं, मैं ट्रैवल कर रहा था, अभी हूँ कुछ टाइम के लिए, आता हूँ पक्का। आपसे मिलना है ऑलवेज लॉट ऑफ लर्निंग।
यस सर, एज यू टेल मी।
नमस्ते सर।
नमस्ते, बोल भाई।
सर अभी वो जो आप जो रिस्क वाली जो बात हो रही थी सर, उसमें सर आपका मतलब यही था ना कि 1 करोड़ का रिस्क है तो लेवरेज तो मिल ही रहा है, तो 20 लाख कैपिटल से करा जाए।
क्या
सर जैसे वो शॉर्ट ऑन। यस सर।
नहीं समझा नहीं तेरा सवाल।
नहीं, जैसे 1 करोड़ का अगर ट्रेड लेना है तो लेवरेज तो ऑलरेडी मिल रहा है ना, तो 20 लाख कैपिटल डिप्लॉय करी जाए।
अब 25 लाख कैपिटल चाहिए ना, 25% मार्जिन होता है।
राइट सर, राइट, 25 लाख रुपए। तो 1 करोड़ डालने का मतलब ही नहीं बनता है ना, तो वो ऑटोमेटिकली लेवरेज हो चुका है।
अरे भाई वो तो एग्जाम्पल दे रहा था, मैं तो 20,000 रुपया डाल के खेल रहा हूँ, छोड़ो ना, ये एग्जाम्पल मैंने दिया, प्लीज।
सर एक क्वेश्चन था मेरा।
हाँ बोलना।
कि जो भी आपका इंडियन होटल का जो आप बोल रहे थे, तो सर आपने फिगर आउट कैसे करा कि 6 बिलियन पे सेल करना चाहिए?
हाँ क्या?
इंडियन होटल को सर आपने 6 बिलियन फिगर आउट कैसे करा कि 6 बिलियन पे सेल होना चाहिए?
6 बिलियन? अरे सर वो ट्रेंड का पूछ रहा है कि आपके पास जब वो इक्विटी था वो कंपनी का, आपने 8%, मतलब वो जब 8.5 बिलियन कुछ वैल्यूएशन रीच हो गया था तब आपने निकाल दिया, तो इज आस्किंग हाउ टू कैलकुलेट दैट वैल्यूएशन।
नहीं अभी भी नहीं समझा मैं।
आपने इंडियन होटल का कब ऐसा सोचा कि जो 8% स्टेक है वो आपको बेच डालना है, बराबर है?
अरे हाँ वो अरे
हाँ
यार
सर।
2004-3-4 में वो लिया था, वो एक डिजीज आया था, सार्स SARS करके आया था,
हांगकांग वाला।
हाँ हांगकांग सिंगापुर, तो सब धाड़ धूड़ हो रहा था, तो वो इंस्टीट्यूट वाला बोला इंडियन होटल लेगा, अपना एक आदत है सस्ते में देगा ना, अच्छा शेयर ले लेगा, तो मैं बोला हाँ लेगा, तो वो बोला इतना परसेंट है, मैं बोला यार चल 120 में लेगा, वो दे दिया, तो मैं ओनर बन गया। फिर उसका MD था जुबिन दुबाश करके, उसको मिलता था, बातचीत करता था। फिर मैं सोचा वो इंडियन होटल में कुछ नहीं हो रहा था, तो फिर 240-50 में मैं निकल गया, और वो 10 पेड़ अप था और ये अभी 1 पेड़ अप है, तो कितना हो गया? 3,000 का भाव हो गया। बट लेट मी टेल यू वन थिंग, नहीं कुछ मैं गलत बोल रहा हूँ। ओके एनीवे, सिंस in 2006 or 5 again I bought at 140, and after a few days I sold it at 138, whole lot. and the rate was 150, मैं बोला 138 पकड़ो, चला गया. All these years 2005-6 से लेके ये भी लास्ट ईयर तक वही भाव था. तो आप अगर लिया होता तो क्या कमाता था उधर, इंडियन ओरल में क्या कमा लेता था. Tata Group is useless, fraud management, totally fraud, and I challenge Tata's to sue me on this statement of mine. साला नहीं करता अभी तक. So the point is, I sold it off because I saw the management was horrible. Yes, as you.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू. बस यही पूछना था सर.
अरे पूछना है तो फोन करके पूछो ना, तेरे को स्टोरी लंबा सुनाएगा.
ओके सर, डेफिनेटली सर.
या रविंद्र.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yeah.
No, I was listening to yours and Kirit's conversation. It was very engaging. So one thing, I was reading more about, one thing we discussed about Coal India. I was reading more about it. If you're interested, I would like to share. बताओ.
हाँ बोलिए ना.
So I think ना ये situation काफी खराब है. What share price reflects. The situation is pretty bad. The rally is because of international coal market. Okay. उसका काफी कारण ये है कि चाइना का जो भी है और यूरोप का जो भी है. बट चाइना फ्रॉम लास्ट 2 years उनका जो इम्पोर्ट है, दे स्टॉप फ्रॉम ऑस्ट्रेलिया and they are building capacities internally. So last year उनका इम्पोर्ट तो 350 था, फिर 330 हुआ और इस साल शायद 300 के नीचे आ जाएगा मिलियन टन के हिसाब से, which will impact 2-3 साल में they might even reach self sufficiency. अगर वो सिचुएशन आती है और यूरोप का जो डिमांड अचानक से स्पाइक आया है वो बाद में नहीं रहता है, तो इंटरनेशनल प्राइसेस ऑफ द कोल will collapse like anything. Like जैसे वो 100 का 400 गया है, वापस से रिवर्स मारने में भी टाइम नहीं लगेगा. This is about international prices. The second thing is about the Indian situation. इंडिया में कोल इंडिया ने लास्ट ईयर FY22 में कुछ 31 मिलियन टन अपने इन्वेंट्री से ज्यादा कंज्यूम किया. लाइक जो अपने रेवेन्यू देखते हैं, ऑफटेक जो था डिस्पैचेस वाज अबाउट 30-35 मिलियन टन हायर देन their production. The same situation carried for last 7 months of this current financial year. तो उनके इन्वेंट्री शायद 25-30 मिलियन टन के आसपास ही आ गए हैं, उससे ज्यादा नहीं है, जो एक टाइम में 60 के ऊपर थे. अब बात ये है कि जो पावर मिनिस्ट्री के जो कमेंट्स है ना, दे आर सेइंग कि दिस ईयर दे आर टारगेटिंग फ्रॉम प्राइवेट कोल माइनर्स प्रोडक्शन फ्रॉम 85 to 130. तो अगर ऐसा कुछ होता है 1-2 साल में प्राइवेट कोल माइनर्स, एंड वी नो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ प्राइवेट कोल माइनर्स आर आल्सो कमिंग अलोंग, सो उनका प्रोडक्शन बहुत ताबड़तोड़ बढ़ सकता है. से अदानी इज आल्सो देयर. If that situation happens कि इंडिया प्राइवेट कोल माइनर्स इंक्रीज प्रोडक्शन ड्रामेटिकली, तो इनका जो कोल की सिचुएशन है, इट विल बी लाइक जो डेफिसिट था, इट विल नॉट बी फुलफिल्ड बाय कोल इंडिया गोइंग फॉरवर्ड, इट विल बी कमिंग फ्रॉम प्राइवेट कोल माइनर्स. एक चीज अपने पहले भी डिस्कस किए थे एक बार कॉल में कि गवर्नमेंट ऐसा रूल भी लाने वाली है कि प्राइवेट कोल माइनर्स कैन सेल कोल इन द ओपन मार्केट. वो पहले नियम था कुछ 50% का कि फॉर देयर डिजायर्ड पर्पस वंस दैट इज अचीव्ड दे कैन सेल, बट नाउ अब बोल रहे हैं 50% ऐसे भी बेच सकते हैं. अगर उनका प्रोडक्शन 150 कुछ हो गया, तो ये जितना भी इंडिया का एक्सेस ई ऑक्शन में कोल बिकता है ना, कोल इंडिया का, वो कोल इंडिया बेच नहीं पाएगा. जो Q1 में उन्होंने शायद 20-25 मिलियन टन बेचा था, Q2 में वो ड्रॉप होके 10 मिलियन टन हो गया. उनका टारगेट वैसे फुल ईयर का 90-100 कुछ है. अगर खाली एफएसए पे जाएगा कोल इंडिया, तो पिछले 5-6 साल में कोल इंडिया ने कोई प्राइस इंक्रीज कर नहीं पाया, बी इट वॉट एवर पॉलिटिकल प्रेशर एंड एवरीथिंग. कमिंग ऑन टॉप ऑफ दैट, जितने भी अपने कोल इंडिया वी कंसिडर ओनली एज अ डिविडेंड पेइंग ऑप्शन, बट द वन रीजन विच आई फाउंड आउट वाज 5-6 साल पहले कैश बैलेंस ऑन द बैलेंस शीट वाज 45-50,000 crore, which after the current dividend payment, it might reduce to something 20,000 crore. So significant amount of dividend are coming from balance sheet rather than P&L. In that situation, it is still trading. जो अपने अगर Q2 के EBITDA को normalize करें, so it is still trading at 5-6 kind of EV EBITDA, which is one of the highest for coal companies across the world. थोड़ा वो बड़ा डिविडेंड दिया है, उसकी वजह से आफ्टर रिजल्ट्स कोल इंडिया प्राइस डिडंट केम डाउन, बट डिविडेंड एक्स एक दो दिन में हो रहा है. आई थिंक दिस कैन बी वन ऑफ द पीक फॉर कोल इंडिया फॉर मेनी years. My gut feeling, only catch here is they are spending too much on rail rakes capex. If that can increase the production and their dispatches, that we have to see, because इतना demand India में होता नहीं है. Say if if GDP grow by 5-6%, तो अपना कोल का डिमांड भी 6% के आसपास ही होगा. और वो अगर पूरा का पूरा प्राइवेट कोल माइनर से आ जाता है या सिग्निफिकेंट पोर्शन आ जाता है, तो वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ का ऑप्शन कोल इंडिया के पास ज्यादा बचेगा नहीं. एंड वंस China achieves self-sufficiency, then Indonesian coal again will be dumped in the international market. अगर यूरोप को साइड कर दे, then in that situation, international coal price will drop dramatically. Which what will happen is जो भी अपने country side पे coal power plant है, they can easily use again that international coal. So situation I think for coal India can get very bad from here, but the price is not reflecting that.
Okay. बोलिए आशीष भाई, बोलिए. बाद में लेता हूँ शशांक भाई.
Ravindra, since you were so into the PSU sector, what do you think about this another company called BHEL, जो अभी आज रिजल्ट डिक्लेयर किया है? उसका घाटा आया है बिट्टा लेवल पे 202 करोड़ वर्सेस 250 करोड़ लास्ट क्वार्टर का.
I don't track BHEL, but I track PSU mining, metals and mining companies I track, but no idea on BHEL.
अच्छा, ठीक है.
नहीं, अच्छा है. अरे अच्छा है यार, सोमवार सुबह तक अच्छा है, छोड़ना चलना बाद में. या शशांक भाई बोलिए, चलिए.
Good evening, Sharad uncle. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, sir, basically पोर्टफोलियो की बात करें तो पोर्टफोलियो तो रेड में है. ऊपर से कि मेरे डैड ने कुछ ऐसे ही मुझे पैसे दिए थे उनके पर्सनल इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए, स्टॉक्स में डालने के लिए, तो उनका पोर्टफोलियो भी लॉस में. तो मेरे डैड ने कुछ बोला नहीं, क्योंकि उन्होंने लूज करने के लिए ही डाले थे. उन्होंने ऊपर से एक फनी क्वेश्चन मुझे पूछा कि पूरी दुनिया का मार्केट अप है बट मेरा पोर्टफोलियो क्यों डाउन है. तो इसका जवाब मेरे पास था ही नहीं वो टाइम पे.
सिंपल सा जवाब है भाई, अपना बाजार मैनिपुलेटेड मार्केट है. आपको इंडेक्स ऊपर दिखेगा, बाकी सब नीचे रहेगा.
यस सर. बेसिकली यही क्वेश्चन था कि अभी बिजनेस, एक्चुअल रियल बिजनेस, स्टॉक मार्केट की बात तो साइड में सर रखते हैं जनरली, बट जो एक्चुअल जो बिजनेस है वहाँ पे बहुत ही प्रॉब्लम चल रही है और पूरी दुनिया का मार्केट डाउन है, अपना ये है. तो ये सब चीजें तो मैंने बाद में एक्सप्लेन नहीं की, बट सर जनरली सर मेरा पर्सनल पोर्टफोलियो भी डाउन है, बट जो डे ट्रेडिंग का जो पोर्टफोलियो है वो अच्छा कर रहा है. सो आई एम जस्ट शेयरिंग माय व्यू के ट्रेडिंग तो बेसिकली मैं कंट्रोल करता हूँ, अपने आप को मैं कंट्रोल करता हूँ. जैसे हमारी भगवत गीता में भी लिखा है कि अपने इंद्रिय को कंट्रोल में रखेंगे तो यू कैन विन एनीथिंग. तो कुछ पैरामीटर पे मैंने अपने इंद्रिय को कंट्रोल में रखा है, तो ट्रेडिंग अच्छे चल रहा है. बट लॉन्ग टर्म का पोर्टफोलियो तो अभी ऐसा लग रहा है कि आई मीन डिमोटिवेट हो जाते हैं सर्टेन लेवल के बाद, इतना नॉलेज होने के बावजूद भी.
आपको कौन बोला कि आपके पास नॉलेज है?
नहीं सर, 100% नॉलेज तो है ही नहीं सर, 1% है, बट जितना नॉलेज है उस पर भी डाउट होता है अभी।
यार ये मेरे को 45 साल हो गया, मेरे को लगता है अभी तक मेरे पास में 30% ही नॉलेज है अबाउट द
मैं तो
मार्केट्स।
हाफ परसेंट की मैं तो बात कर रहा हूँ सर। ऑप्शन ट्रेडिंग के लिए सर, ऑप्शन सेलिंग्स के लिए भी बेसिकली
नहीं
काफी
नहीं,
मेरे, या सॉरी,
ऑप्शन का बात नहीं करने का।
ओके ओके सॉरी।
आपका पोर्टफोलियो कितना डाउन है परसेंटेज?
सर 12 to 15% डाउन है, ज्यादा डाउन है नहीं। आई मीन अमाउंट परसेंटेज वाइज तो बहुत ज्यादा ही है सर बेसिकली, बट 12 to 15% जितना डाउन है।
यार आप लोग ये कैसा बैठ सकता है इतना लॉस पे? मेरे लिए तो मैक्सिमम 1% हुआ तो मैं कूदने लगता हूँ, और 2% हो जाता है तो मैं शॉर्ट कर देता हूँ। एनीवे प्लीज सोच समझ के डालना, अभी मार्केट इज वेरी फ्रॉथी। 10 रुपए का चीज आप 40 रुपए में ले रहे हो, अभी उतना समझ जाओ। ये निफ्टी 12,000 के नीचे आएगा 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 वैल्यूएशन वाइज, और ऑल टाइम हाई भी होएगा। उसमें अपने जैसे सब उल्लू बनेंगे, फालतू फालतू शेयर देंगे, चढ़ चढ़ के 80 पी 90 पी 100 पी का शेयर देंगे और मजा करेंगे। बोलिए
सर एक मेटा की एक स्टोरी में, आई मीन मेरा पर्सनल रिसर्च जो मैंने किया है वो मैं खाली वेरी शॉर्ट में एक्सप्लेन कर रहा हूँ, इफ यू अलाउ मी टू।
बोलो बोलो बोलो, छूट है।
या सर बेसिकली सर, यूएस में जो फेसबुक कंपनी है जो मेटा है, तो उसमें बेसिकली इन 2014 में उसने व्हाट्सएप को एक्वायर किया था, राइट। और उसके बाद इंस्टाग्राम है, फेसबुक है, वो इतने सारे यूजर्स आ गए कि लाइक सुनामी की तरह यूजर्स आ गए। तो 2014 में उसका वैल्यू था $90, $90, और उसने हाई बनाया लगभग 2021 या 22 में 212 का 220 के आसपास हाई बनाया।
नहीं, 354 का बना।
यस सर। तो माय आई एम ट्राइंग टू से दैट के इतना बड़ा हाई बनाया और आज वो वापस 190 का लो मारकर आज 112 115 पे। इनफैक्ट इसका वैल्यू इतने यूजर्स होने के बावजूद, इतने एडवर्टाइजमेंट या नया इनिशिएट उन्होंने, व्हाट्सएप इतना डेवलप हो गया, सब चीज इतने फुल फ्लेज में चल रही है, इसके बावजूद भी शेयर के प्राइस इतने घटिया हो गए। आई एम ट्राइंग टू से, और सबसे शॉकिंग चीज मुझे पर्सनली ये लग रही है कि रिजल्ट के बाद 130 125 वाला शेयर, $125 वाला शेयर 90 पे आ जाता है, एंड सिर्फ एक सीपीआई के डेटा की वजह से वो वापिस 115 112 पे आ रहा है, जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दी वन डेटा।
देखिए, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आप समझिए कि ये प्रोडक्ट कंपनी है।
शरद सर, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है। शरद सर, अभिषेक, आपको आ रही है सर की आवाज?
नहीं, बीच बीच में कट रही है, बालकनी में।
हेलो,
हाँ अभी आ रही है।
यू कैन हियर मी प्लीज?
यस यस यस।
हेलो।
हाँ सर अभी ठीक है।
नहीं तो ये तो फेसबुक तो चला जाएगा। ये लगता है धीरे धीरे एप्पल का भी यही हाल होगा, और प्रोडक्ट साइकिल मैच्योर हो गया, अभी इतना ज्यादा बिकता नहीं है, तो तकलीफ आएगा एप्पल में आगे चलते हुए। और बोलिए।
अरे so the thing is कि why did the price go up so much? You look at Facebook or you look at Amazon. So these guys made acquisitions. Facebook ने WhatsApp लिया, Instagram लिया, और बचा कौन सा? वो Snapchat। सोशल मीडिया में यही सब है, और बाकी तो ट्विटर है। तो अभी यहाँ पे पैंडेमिक के टाइम पे क्या हुआ था कि एवरीवन वाज सिटिंग एट होम, एडवर्टाइजिंग एंड ऑल वाज हैपनिंग ऑनलाइन, सो एडवर्टाइजिंग रेवेन्यू वाज गोइंग अप सिग्निफिकेंटली, एंड देन चीप मनी मिल रहा था ना सबको, तो सस्ता मनी को खर्च करने में कोई सोचता नहीं है, तो एडवर्टाइजिंग उसलिए सब लोग मस्त कर रहे थे ये कंपनी वाले। तो उसके लिए वो खतरनाक बढ़ गया था उतना सारा। अदरवाइज दैट मूवमेंट फ्रॉम $80 to 350 in a matter of a year is impossible without that. So that was what was driving the entire Nasdaq and the tech companies and what not. तो अभी वो सस्ता मनी कम हो जाएगा तो फिर तो मार्जिन भी घटेंगे ना। अभी मार्जिन तो रहेगा नहीं अभी तो। आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ द बिग गाइज आर स्टॉपिंग टू स्पेंड आल्सो ऑन एडवर्टाइजिंग, क्योंकि डिमांड ही नहीं है तो एडवर्टाइज करके क्या फायदा। So all that will die down. I fail to understand इंडिया में क्या चल रहा है, बस वही है।
नहीं, आई अंडरस्टैंड यूएस मार्केट मच बेटर, इंडियन मार्केट नहीं समझता। बोलिए आशीष भाई, बोलिए आशीष घेरोला।
Thank you, Sharad uncle, for advice.
आप बोलिए ना। ओके चलिए। आज जीत भाई क्या बोल रहे हैं?
वो थैंक यू बोलने ही आए थे सर। जीत भाई, जीत यादव।
हाँ सर नमस्कार सर, मेरे को बोलना है थोड़ा।
हाँ बोलो
सर, गुस्सा मत करिएगा, बस थोड़ा बहुत बोल देता हूँ।
सिर्फ 2 मिनट बोलना, 2 मिनट।
नहीं सर, 3 मिनट बोलूंगा सर, 3-4 मिनट लगेगा सर।
नहीं, नॉट अलाउड, ओनली 2 मिनट्स।
ओके सर, 2 मिनट बोलता हूँ सर। ओके, मेरे को कल एक डीएम आया। ओके, वो डीएम में मेरे को एक बंदे ने मैसेज किया, कल नहीं परसों आया था, कल नहीं, एक दिन बिफोर। उसने मेरे को मैसेज किया, सर मैं दीपक नाइट्राइट का 2400 का 2400 का कॉल लिया हूँ और मेरा 56 का एवरेज है और अभी उसका प्राइस चल रहा है 6 रुपीज। उसने ऐसा मेरे को मैसेज किया। ठीक है सर, मैं बस बताना चाह रहा था थोड़ा सा। मैंने कहा भाई तुम्हारा स्टॉप लॉस कटा क्या? कट स्टॉप लॉस है ही नहीं, आप कॉल ले रहे हो, नेकेड कॉल। अब मैंने उसको ये भी पूछा, तुमको पता था क्या दीपक नाइट्राइट का आज रिजल्ट आने वाला है? वो तो बोला मुझे को नहीं पता सर, मेरे को रिजल्ट आने वाला है कि नहीं आने वाला है, और मैंने बस 56 रुपए उसका मैं स्क्रीनशॉट अभी ट्विटर पर पोस्ट करूंगा थोड़ी देर।
अरे जीत भाई कहना क्या चाहते हो? उसने कितने में भी लिया, अपने लोग को क्या प्रॉब्लम है यार?
मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था,
समझते काढ़ी ना क्यों बोलिए।
सर मैं अभिषेक का आपकी रिक्वेस्ट नहीं ले पा रहा हूँ।
चिराग, you want to say?
चिराग कौन है सर अभी यहाँ पर? मैं तो कोई दिखाई भी नहीं दे रहा है। अभिषेक आपकी रिक्वेस्ट नहीं ले पा रहा हूँ मैं।
हाँ अभी आ गया।
गुड इवनिंग शरद जी। हेलो समर्थ। हाय
गुड इवनिंग। अभी दिखाई दिया।
बोलिए।
नहीं सर कुछ नहीं, बस मैंने तो आई हैव शिफ्टेड टू कमोडिटीज। इसमें कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग है शॉर्ट करने को तो बताइएगा। आज तो बड़ा मैं देख रहा था, सारा का सारा सब कुछ लाल में था और निफ्टी बैंक निफ्टी भाग रहा था। मैंने कहा ये क्या हो रहा है? I have stopped trading in equities. So
very good decision.
I only trade in commodities. दिन का 2 मिलता है आराम से. But if I just wanted to ask you and other people here, any thoughts on we फिर again अभी all time high जाएगा and all that कहानी होगा. तो जो थोड़ा बहुत पोर्टफोलियो में है, मीडियम टर्म स्विंग पोर्टफोलियो में है, वो रखना चाहिए कि निकाल देना चाहिए अभी?
नहीं, रखिए ना, अच्छा पोर्टफोलियो तो अच्छा ही होगा. और अगर 30-40% घट भी जाएगा तो 8-10 साल में भाव आ जाएगा.
सर वो तो छोड़िए सर, आपको पता है मेरा क्या है, वही QSR एंड ऑल दैट इज देयर. तो अभी तो
आई डोंट सी एनी प्रॉब्लम.
राइट सर.
QSR नो प्रॉब्लम.
सर जोमेटो का क्या लगा है? जोमेटो
सॉरी
सर, जोमेटो.
या फेक फाइंडर बोलिए.
हेलो शरद सर. शरद
Yeah,
सर.
Samrat, you wanted to say something? Samrat.
या
No,
फेक
he is
फाइंडर.
not talking.
या शरद सर
His throat
आपके
is
लिए.
bad.
हेलो.
Sir, can you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah, Samrat was saying.
या फेक फाइंडर, एनी व्यूज ऑन जोमेटो?
I haven't gone through a lot of detail of the results, but I mean the final, if I just look at a few things, I think it's actually quite concerning if you ask me. Because let me just give me a moment. But I was looking at some of the data. It seems to indicate that in the food delivery business, if you remove the delivery charges, which has gone up a lot. You know how much delivery charges are gone up on a percentage basis?
It will be around 15 to 20%.
No, it's
It's
more.
100%. It's
No,
100%.
maybe in a year-on-year basis, I don't know, but on a quarter-on-quarter basis, it's gone up 13% previous quarter, and the current quarter it went up by some 16-17%. So that's like almost a 30% increase in your delivery costs, charges. And if you remove delivery charges, the gross value of food ordered, okay, has only gone up by 2 to 3% quarter on quarter. Boss, that is a big problem. Okay, this is supposed to be a multi-year story. Okay, where only small percentage of the population is ordering food online, and this company is struggling to grow order booking when you know that your billings in your restaurants, bills everywhere are gone up by 4 to 5% every quarter, maybe 20-25% a month, year on year. So that's about 4-5% a quarter. In fact, many of them have hiked up. I think the Mumbai Vada Pav has gone up by 15% in the last 3-4 months, right? So I'm just saying that a company is struggling to grow, and this is apparently a company where penetration is very low, and they are struggling to grow the value of the food ordered by just 2%. Shocking, man. I mean, that's like shocking. And even if you assume there is flat ordering, and volume growth is not there on a sequential basis. Big problem, was really a big problem.
Apologies for butting in. I saw the results of Trent I spoke earlier. Last year turnover 1150 crores, net profit 80 crores. This year turnover 1950 crores and net profit 78 crores. So margin went down substantially by 4% or something. So revenue is coming, but the profitability of the revenue is shrinking. Now you are talking about delivery charges going up. Yes, agreed. but at the same time, the cost of the company is also rising. So, net, nobody is making money.
Sharaji, so let me hear a little bit. See, you're right about your data point, but then if you look at some other companies like the car companies, right, their margins have generally gone up year on year, right? So what you are referring to is West Side. Now, bear in mind, West Side and generally caters to the richer class of people, right? The number of people who go shop in West Side versus the number of people who order on Zomato. You don't need to be a rich person or even a middle income person to order on Zomato, right? You can be an ordinary person to order on Zomato, right? And even there, they are not able to grow their volumes. I mean, if somebody were to annualize the current volume growth, okay, at the current run rate, or their revenue growth on the quarterly basis, you're talking about only some 10 to 15% revenue growth. And most of these companies, I mean, I'm talking about the food business, the core business. They are obviously entering other businesses like, supplying food to the restaurant. So that business did fairly well. Had that business, and they're doing obviously, Bliquist, which is basically 10-minute delivery. I still be of the view that this 10-minute delivery will be a loss-making business. Okay, I don't think it'll break even. But I'm just saying is that despite the fact that you're catering to a much bigger segment of customers, while in case of this other company which you mentioned, they are catering only to a smaller segment of customers, and those smaller segment customers have done better off in life in the last 2 years. They have made more money. They made more money in the stock market.
But then also it's in a soup. No, yeah. That's the point I'm trying to make. That every company, be it Zomato or anybody, is facing a tough situation. That's the bottom line.
Except the bank. The banks are making a lot of money. And the reason is that competition amongst banks has significantly reduced. NBFCs are completely out. So if you were to compare this, like, 5, 7, 10 years ago, the number of banks competing today are significantly lower because of consolidation, because of, the smaller banks getting completely, there was an aggressive bank like Yes Bank. Today they're not aggressive. I'm just saying that the competition has significantly reduced. And on top of that, you actually, now this is the funniest situation I've ever heard. SBI, we all know there is shortage of liquidity in the market on deposit growth. You've seen all the results. Deposit growth has been very low because there is no deposit growth only happening. And why is the deposit growth not happening in the country? Is because people are the broader market or the broader masses of the country are taking more money out of their deposits. So if you look at deposit growth, it's very, very little. Okay. Now, going back to my point, when everybody knows that the liquidity in the banking sector is negative and there is shortage of liquidity, how does SBI go and cut the rates on savings bank deposits? Why would they do that? And they would not, ideally they shouldn't have touched it, but they actually went ahead and cut it. I've never ever seen in the history of Indian banking where a tight liquidity situation, the biggest banks actually cuts, which says one thing, that competition is limited. Others, you would not do that, right? And because of that, if you look at the RBI data, the net interest margin of banks is rocking for the entire banking system. It's like super. It's probably the best ever net interest margin in the history of Indian banking. Which means that this entire noise by RBI saying that we will see that interest rates go through the system and it's passed on, all bullshit. Data does not prove any of it. And in some sort of sense, if the rates are not going through the system, effect, and the banks are making more net interest margin, it means somebody is losing. Either the borrower is paying more, or the saver is losing money. He's getting paid less. And ideally, that is not a great situation if you think about it. It's a disservice to the country in some sort of sense. And why has that been created? Because of lesser competition.
But fact finder, if you see SBI only government accounts maximum be only defense and one or two sectors have been allowed to open accounts, salary accounts in other banks. Except SBI, they were not able to open accounts. So the amount of surplus money which SBI is holding, so they will be also making them the cost of money which they are right now owning at 3%, they will be lowering the cost at 2.75%. So I don't think so. There is some disparity in that.
No, I didn't understand your point.
The inflow of money from the government accounts, the salary accounts which SBI holds, because as such, as on this day also, the government specific entities salary accounts are not opened in any other private sector banks or any other PSU except SBI. So the inflow of money which SBI holds every month is on the higher side.
Samrat, that is wrong, Samrat. If you look at the results, SBI's loan growth, I think, was 19%, and their deposit growth was maybe 8 or 9 or 10%, right? So it's not like they are growing faster than the system in terms of deposit growth. Today, there's a massive shortage of deposits. SBI is 25% of the banking system. Yes, you're right that they get a lot of advantage of dealing with government salaried accounts. But the point of the matter is, in a scenario where a banker, it's a rational thing that when liquidity is tight, the last thing you do is to actually reduce the rates on your stable balances. You actually typically increase it so that people don't move money out of it. You don't reduce it. It essentially means that the banking system is now started behaving like a cartel. Okay, that when SBI decides to cut savings deposit rates, other banks also will cut savings deposit rates. That has never happened in the history of India. In a tight liquidity scenario, banks are cutting the rates on savings accounts deposits because that is high quality money. So that's what I'm saying. What does it mean? It means that the government is in effect encouraging a cartelization in the banking sector, which is not good. It's not healthy, at the cost of the depositor. If you have another argument against this, please let me know. But if you are in a business of collecting liabilities, today is a shortage. You don't cut the rates on your liabilities, you increase it.
But fact finder, Kotak Bank and IDFC also did the same thing.
Yeah, because the SBI did it. No, that's what I'm trying to tell you, right? It's become a cartel now.
Yeah, correct. India is like that only. You like it, accept it, or otherwise forget it.
Sarath, I have never seen this. I used to be a retail banker. Okay, I have never seen a scenario where, in times where there is a massive shortage of liquidity, you're cutting rates on savings deposits, which is already on the lower side. I mean, HDFC Limited is raising money at 7.75% for not just 1 year deposits, for 3 year and 4 year deposits. Okay.
That's it. Yeah, wondering. झंडा वाला भाई बोलो.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Sir, I just wanted आपका sir view sir like coming weeks and months view on sir ये USD INR and also on dollar index sir like last जब से last वो अमेरिका में जो आया है कोर इन्फ्लेशन का तब से ये सब रुपी अप्रिशिएट हो रहा है एंड डॉलर तो गिरते जा रहा है ये रिवर्सल होगा या सर ऐसे ही मतलब कि चलेगा आपका सर थोड़ा व्यू चाहिए सर इसमें थैंक यू
नहीं, अपना कोई व्यू नहीं है भाई। ये सब अपने को समझता नहीं, एक एक रुपया घट जाता है, बढ़ जाता है। नो व्यू, मतलब होशियारी नहीं करूंगा। मुझे नहीं पता। आपको कुछ पता है तो बताइए।
I think fact finder would have something on this, sir.
Yeah, you should go ahead and speak.
See, I'll be honest. The reaction was super aggressive. As a hedge fund guy, one should have noticed this coming, because everybody was on the same side, negative, across all asset classes, across all markets. But having said that, there's no point fretting about it. One should now look at it this way: that listen, we are now in. Let's put your position. Let's put yourself in the position of an institutional investor, right? Uh, if you're an institutional investor and you got your call from the beginning of the year correct, you've made money. You have, remember, global institutions, be it fund managers, be it hedge funds, be it brokers, be it investment banks, most of them, they get their bonus paid out in mid-December. And that bonus is fixed based on the income or profits that they make by the end of December, by the beginning of December. So which is why, because after mid-December, everybody goes on holiday and you get paid your bonus in mid-December, or they fix the bonus in mid-December, which means that they will take into account all the income or profits or whatever you made by end of November, which means that we are today sitting on the 11th or 12th of November. Now, a lot of some people may have the long only investors who typically hold, they don't go short the market or whatever, they would have lost money, of course. But the active fund managers or hedge funds, they would have made money if they got the market direction right. Right. Let's not look at India in this current situation. Let's look at the global markets. And it was obvious how they were positioned. Now suddenly this changes, right? Now, if you have made a decent amount of bonus, you don't want to lose that in the last 20 days of the year, because the last 20 days is essentially from November 10th till November end. You don't want to lose that bonus. But that bonus can be lost if suddenly you are short and the market keeps going up, 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 up. Right? So the first thing you will do is that, listen, if I was short and I made a lot of money over from the beginning of the year, I will completely square off my position. And potentially, the question is, there are some people who said, no, let me wait for a day. And then, if it, let me see, this market is ridiculous. No, the non-believers, right? Because it has, what will you do? You will say, listen, I'll protect my bonus. I don't want to lose. I've earned so much of it. I don't want to lose 20-30% of it just in the next 20 days, right? Which is why, if there's a reversal in the market, which is in this case going up, you will now start chasing it, or at least be aligned with it, right? So just keep that in mind, that the next 20 days is this entire concept where whoever's made money on the short side, the market is working against them, and they don't want to be losing that potential bonus that they will make.
I have a contra question to Fact Finder G. In that case, then the markets have been long here in India, so there should be a profit booking coming if we go by the logic of yours. Thank
You're right. Did our markets react like the US markets? No, right? Because, see, our markets have become a momentum market in the eyes of most investors. They're like, fine, it doesn't matter, regardless of whatever, all the news of high cost of crude oil, rupee depreciation, high inflation has all been priced in. Market is not reacting. So see, when markets don't react to news, people say it's people out of frustration then start saying, okay, it's priced in, right? Because it is behaving in some sort of sense. And I'll give you why it is irrational. I'll give you an example of why it's irrational. Let's look at what happened in February, March, and April, right? No, let's look at March 2020. March 2020, in 2 months, FI sold 80,000 crores. Market fell down 30%. Now look at the number, 80,000 crores. In February and March of 2022, the foreigners sold again about, I think, 100,000 crores, and the market went down about 8-10%. In April, May, June, foreigners sold 120 or 130,000 crores, a much bigger number. Markets didn't go anywhere. So if somebody gave you these figures and say, okay, don't tell, I'm going to give you these three figures of how much foreigners sold, tell me how much did the market fall, and I told you what happened in March 2020, you would have said, boss, it would have collapsed in March 2022 and March 2023, right? So that's the rational thing, right? You work based on what would have happened in historically. So now historical evidence is not playing out, which is why, out of frustration and saying, okay, fine, you know what, everybody at the beginning of the year, every strategist globally said buy China. It did not work. It went exactly the opposite. And so people saying, listen, now it is foolish for me to put in money into China. It's smart. I don't understand India, but it's better to just put in money into this market, which is at least performing, even if it doesn't make sense. So I'm not going to go overweight the market. I will just neutralize my position in the market so that I don't get hurt. And you are again looking at the end of the last 20 days of the year. You're saying, fine, you know what? I don't want to lose any performance in the next 20 days of the year.
Yeah, anything, Yogesh bhai? Hello.
Thank you, sir. My question is somewhat answered. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Ravi ji.
Yeah, I wanted to discuss something with Pathfinder on Zomato. Uh, One thing I always believe, this business is very good if it's been done in top 3, 4, or top 10 cities in India. There is actual real arbitrage between consumers wasting time in procuring food items and delivery boys delivering at our homes. So if we get business which is shrink and catering to a pocket which is very profitable, then obviously the size of the business would be much smaller, because right now they are catering to 200, 500 cities in India. But the appetite to pay, or even the intention to pay for those services in India, we can't compare with the global markets where people are ready to pay for the services. If it's done for few cities in India, this is actually where the people have the appetite to pay and they are time crunch. Then this is very good model. Talking purely on the food delivery and the quick delivery which they are doing. But right now we don't have those options. Any view, Pathfinder or someone you have on this?
No, so let me put it this way. I would look at two businesses differently. One is, let's look at your Uber and Ola, right? In Uber and Ola work in top end cities in India because of the congestion. People don't parking is an issue. Parking is expensive. Finding a parking space is a problem, right? That's not the case in smaller towns. When I say smaller towns, even beyond the top 15 cities, there's enough of parking space. You get cheap driver. If a person is going to pay 200 rupees for 3 or 4 kilometers, then there are very few people in smaller cities who are willing to pay that much. right? They will use auto rickshaws. They will use cycle autos, right? My point is that for this particular business like Uber and Ola, I think they have a business case problem beyond the top 10 cities in India. As far as your point is, again, let's look at food delivery. Now, food delivery is very popular in cities where there's a very huge migrant population, which again is cities: Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, Bombay, NCR. uh, Younger population, lot more jobs, and migrant. When I say I'm not talking about migrant labor, but even migrant labor. But I'm just saying migrant people, right? I mean, a lot of people in Bangalore, for instance, are not from Bangalore. They are from other cities, right? They are not going to stay at home with their parents and have home cooked food, right? But as you go away from the top cities, then it becomes an issue because one, your choice of restaurants are limited in those cities also, right? And see, in smaller cities, uh, people go out to eat as entertainment, right? There are very few choices of entertainment. In bigger cities, we have so many more avenues for entertainment, right? So for us, eating food is not entertainment. We just want to get the food home for convenience. But in smaller cities, going out is the entertainment. So why will you cut short that entertainment and buy food, have home delivery, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And even like if you talk to any cities in Ahmedabad, people will not be ready to pay 50 100 bucks for delivery. They will say that I will go for a walk for 15 minutes. The mindset is completely different. The business model is very good if you do it in Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi. But beyond that, I think they need to work out. It can't be catered to pan India, and even if to other metros they are catering to the entire city, it should not be done. It's a hyper local in few cities, the premium pockets, micro markets, and maybe 3 4 cities pan India.
See, Ravi, as I keep harping again and again, India is only a country where only 30 million people, or 2% of the population, earn an annual income of more than 6 lakhs a year. The rest of the people, and if you were to divide that 30 million people, saying that, in some cases there are double income families, in some cases there are, single income families, then one could broadly say there are 20 million families that earn that income. Now, there are 20 million families out of 350 million families, which is basically 6% of the population. So, India's middle class, which I define as 6 lakhs of income, of annual income, India's middle class is only 6% of the families. And when I say it's not just middle class, middle and upper middle and rich class is 6% of the families. The rest, 94% of the families, are actually poor. In fact, the government data also tells you that if you earn 25,000 rupees of income, you are top 10% of the country. I mean, seriously, 25,000 rupees of income, top 10%. That's like a shame. It's like really poor.
Yeah,
So
that I guess was part of June July inequality report. 3 lakh rupees per household.
no, so the point is when state governments give out little subsidies, honestly, if as people who belong to the top 6%, you should not feel too bad, because at the end of the day there's so many poor people. And honestly, uh, if you there was a very interesting study done by a few guys abroad, not in India, where they did it across Africa and US and some Europe, where they said that what is that income threshold below which, however talented or however hardworking that person is, will that person be able to be successful in life? So they actually tracked a few people where the twins were separated at birth. Unfortunately, one twin went to a very poor family and one twin went to a decently well off family. And they tracked these people over their lifetime. And what they realized is that you might have one person who's super talented and super smart, but if that person is belonging to a family whose income is below a certain level, they'll never be successful in life. And so you have to be very grateful if you're born in a family with a decent income.
So, hi. I just wanted to make a couple of quick points. One on the first on the latter point that you were talking about, people being. Sorry, did I interrupt? I think Wandering Monk wanted to say something. Sorry, sorry.
नहीं, you carry on. Wandering monk एक में रुक जाना. आप बोलिए चिराग भाई.
So, fact finder, see, I think most people consider here, especially people here on this space, they consider themselves middle class. Okay. I know people who live in GK2 in Delhi have multiple cars, then say, oh, we are middle class, right? Nobody considers themselves fortunate. The flip side to that is uh, people like us, we are doing relatively well. So we see the country from our lens. And so all the conversations that you'll see, especially among the trader communities, India is shining, right? Because they just hang in that circuit. And therefore they say कि हाँ हाँ सब कुछ अच्छा है, ठीक है, सब कुछ अच्छा है, आपको पता ही नहीं है क्या है, because आपके आसपास तो सब कुछ अच्छा है. So there is this duality in and almost bordering on hypocrisy. अब कौन समझेगा, कौन समझाएगा, कब समझाएगा, वो I mean that is beyond the scope of this discussion, but I just wanted to bring that up here so that other people have a view on that. That was one part. Your view on the on Zomato food delivery, etc. I would slightly differ on that because see what's happening is that younger people, you're right, it'll work the best in larger cities with large migrant populations, but it also works in larger cities with people who are from those cities. They also would prefer to kind of order in, right? On some days, yes, food is cooked, but that treat also happens within the this thing. So migrant people is not the only reason to order food in. What happens is that migrant people, so there are two broad trends that are happening. One is that the whole idea of smaller families, right? So double income families, people who are who are working, so they may not have time to get food cooked, etc., so they want to order in. The other thing that's happening is that these people who are outside the city, they are they are pushing this behavior of food delivery back into their hometowns, right? So I'll give you, this is anecdotal, so it's not really proof or evidence of anything, but my aunt who stays alone in Bhubaneswar, her everything is home delivered to her by her children who live in Bangalore and Delhi respectively, right? So she just says, I need all of this, so they do it. Now this is an early trend, right? I agree, right? It's a very early trend, but it's just a matter of time. People do pay for convenience, right? So I think it'll be a little wrong to dismiss it. I'm not getting into valuations of Zomato, etc., and all the shenanigans they've been pulling. I'm not getting into that. Convenience has a price, and people do pay for it, and Indians also pay for it. The biggest evidence of Indians paying for convenience is the maid in your home, right? You may be underpaying, that's another matter, but I need to clarify. I don't underpay, but but you may be underpaying, but people do pay for convenience, right? So yeah, that's my two broad points. Thank you.
If you're sorry, I'm going to get personal on this. If you're paying market rates, you are underpaying.
No, my maid only works in two homes, and she's above that 25K limit that you're talking about.
Not bad. Good for you, buddy. Good for you. Yeah, the
We
one
are
more,
worried.
Chirag, just one point I want to
Yeah,
Chirag
yeah,
is that
sir. I just wanted to give an alternate perspective. Sir, we have a farm which is about 20 acres farm. I have in Hyderabad, near Hyderabad, about 20 30 kilometers outside. When we bought that place in 2010, sir, the neighboring village, they were okay people. They didn't have that much of money and all. They used to go and collect wood. But today, sir, whenever I cross that village to go to my farm, I went there day before yesterday. I counted 8 cars, sir. 8 cars. And not only that, sir, in Telangana at least, the government pays for 2 crop seasons. They pay 5,000 rupees per acre to the farmer. And then I was talking to one local guy. I said, "What is happening? Why?" Like I said, people are very prosperous, and they even have trucks. Of course, they might have sold off some land or something like that. So, a lot of money is there in the rural area. And one more thing I would like to point out, sir. Here they give rice at 3 kg, 3 rupees per kg to the people over here. The government gives ration. Now, this 3 rupees per kg, agents come and buy this at 10 rupees from them. They don't eat this rice. They say this rice is not for our consumption. So this is all taxpayers' money. But okay, they get it for 3 rupees, they sell it for 10 rupees to the agent, and the agent goes and sell this 10 rupee rice for 15 rupees to the poultry farm. So at least this is what is happening in Telangana. I cannot find, and sir, I can't get laborers there, sir. I pay 800, 900 rupees. I can't get laborers. I had to get people from West Bengal. I got 2 Nepali couples who are staying there. We have to give them food and everything apart from their salary. So I don't, I maybe another states, maybe people are very poor, but at least here, sir, I don't find people are poor or going hungry. In fact, they're selling the ration food also. This is the ground situation, sir.
So
Okay,
can
sir.
I just make a quick point, and other people will have data on this, and I think Fact Finder will have more data on this. If India is doing very well, please look at entry level motorcycles and entry level cars, right? So if you talk to anybody, he says, "Oh, he bought an SUV," right? And or he bought an XUV. I know somebody who bought XUV, or Mahindra sold, is sold out on XUVs or whatever SUVs for the next 2 years. What about the entry level cars? And I think that is the true measure of whether prosperity is there at the bottom of the pyramid, so to speak. And n number of stats, Fact Finder and others will tell you that car sales have been stagnant for 10 years. Out of this, most of this is replacement sales. And stuff is going down. Obviously second-hand cars are being pushed down, this thing. Beyond that, I'm saying, look at entry-level motorbikes, which will be whatever the first tier, second tier, and entry-level cars. Are those numbers rising? So if everybody is prosperous, those numbers should be rising. That prosperity should be spreading, but it doesn't show anywhere, right? So that's it. Thank you.
Can I just
Yeah,
add, Pondra? Can I just say something?
yeah, please.
So, Wandra, you mentioned Hyderabad, that your farm is 20 kilometers from Hyderabad. Do you know which is the best performing real estate market in the country in the last 2 years? Hyderabad. Why? Because Hyderabad has been underperforming for the last 8 to 12 years in terms of real estate. So after real estate picked up in a big way, so a lot what you see is a fact of real estate prices suddenly finally catching up to the rest of the other markets. And obviously tech is doing well, and Hyderabad is important for IT services. As far as your point is concerned about food getting, the ration food, being taken and then resold. In fact, this is I was planning to write a thread on this, and I've said this many times on a lot of spaces that the average person in India. Family eats only about 20 kgs of rice a month, 20 kgs of rice and wheat a month. A family of four, 2 kids, and a husband, wife, right? You can't eat more than that, right? If the government was giving you 5 kgs per person pre-COVID, and then they increased that to 10 kgs a person, means a person earlier was eligible for 20 kgs per family, now is eligible for 40 kgs. But you can't eat 40 kgs because you were just managing with 20 kgs in the first place. So what did you do with the remaining 20 kgs that the government gave you and post COVID? You know what you were doing? You were actually selling it. Actually, as what you pointed out, is not happening only in Hyderabad or in the small villages. It's happening across the entire country. And you know how you can make out? You go to the Ministry of Agriculture, they come out with a report on the MSP prices and how they arrive on it. In that report, it's very detailed, talks about the agri sector and each food commodity. To cut the long story short, if you remove the food grain produced and see what has how much the increase in the go down, where they store the food grain. The FCI, the Food Corporation of India, they have a go downs across the country where they store the food grain. If you remove the incremental increase in the inventory and remove the incremental exports in the out of the country, the actual food consumption or the grain consumption in India in the last 2 years post COVID has barely grown. Obviously, people are not going to consume more rice and wheat even if you give it to them, right? What they're doing is that they're taking that rice and wheat, selling it to a middleman, and he's re-exporting it or using it and selling it. If it's bad quality, he's selling it to the farms. If it is good quality and he's able to clean it up, he's exporting it.
Ethanol also, input to ethanol, the other scam that's running.
Yeah, they've done it. The funny thing about ethanol, converting rice to ethanol, the cost of procurement, all in cost, which includes transportation, collection, storage, and payment, comes to almost 32-33 rupees a kg per rice. Okay, you use at least 2.5 kgs of rice for 1 liter of ethanol, but the government is selling that rice after paying almost 33 rupees. They're selling the same rice at 20 rupees. So there's a loss over there, and the 20 rupees is the reason why these ethanol companies are able to make alcohol out of rice at a cheaper rate, because they're getting subsidized.
चलो अभी ये सब बात बाजार पे आते हैं. दर्शन भाई बोलिए.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. So no, I'm sorry. I'm just going to share with you a few data points. Simple work. So the U.S. 10-year bond, for some strange reason, was trading at about 420 this week, and last night decided to trade at 380. So simple number is that when you shift 40 basis point on a 10-year in a developed world, you reprice equity. And of course, the 7% kind of a move effectively can be explained by virtue of, shorts, including, a whole lot of, I don't know how to put it, but maybe a lot of this algo-driven trading, which I don't understand much, but I believe that that's also one of the big factors.
You're talking about
So, yeah. So so you had this very significant move last night, but very important, sir, that when you move to 380 on a 10-year from 420, 40 basis point move in one trading session, I think it's a good thing. Now, I just love this comment about somebody who said that look at this whole low hanging fruit on two-wheeler sales. So I'm saying that it may not necessarily show up in some of these two-wheeler plays that we have, because we have a significant amount of competition coming from new players on this EV business. But when you look at a two-wheeler dedicated player whose numbers came in, over the two trading sessions, this thing moved by nearly 25 percentage points. There's this lovely company down south which reported its numbers, and it moved by nearly 25 percentage points. So I think there are these pockets of strength and opportunity, and I think this is not coming through because finally, after absorbing all the stress of BS6, we finally managed to come out strong on this. The other bits that I'd like to highlight is that you had this very significant shift in the Chinese thinking between May and November. So this I'm not I'm only relying on what I've read. It's so maybe there's some more data out there, but I'll just share with what I've read. In May and November, the Chinese government is finally acknowledging that it's best that we vaccinate large population and open up, which is a very significant shift. Now you're talking about, sir, about a middle income country, 130 crore people who might be allowed to come out in the open. Now these countries are overbuilt. So, like how in India, sir, we saw that when we opened up, there was a transition in real estate from an X number of square feet of apartments people had to a larger space. I'm not saying that's a driving point of what can happen in China, but clearly, when you look at EBITDA per ton or spread per ton, which could happen in businesses which are cyclical, dependent on the Chinese real estate sector, which have been corrected, which have corrected in the recent times, I think this could be interesting places to examine. The only bit that I like to highlight with great confidence is the visit of the U.S. Treasury Secretary to India. I think it's very important. We've already seen the early low-hanging fruits of them moving away from classifying us as a country which is which is managing, manipulating, whatever you may call it, in whichever terms you want, our currency, to saying that okay, you guys are out of it. And this comes in the same week when you had the CEA and including advisory members to the PMEC saying that in India a small depreciation to correct the trade deficit might be relevant. Now, in spite of that comment, dollar rupee at some point of time over that comment which came at the start of this week to today has meaningfully appreciated. I think these are very large, similar statements. Again, they continue to tell you that the government believes that we need to correct our trade. Now, how do you correct a trade? One is, of course, energy, which is very difficult to correct. The other is, of course, that you prop up by tweaking with your PLI by adding more sectors, B, incentivizing maybe a whole lot of more export stroke, including sectors which are import intensive. So I think there'll be this pockets of strength and opportunity that will come through. I think there's just so much of data that FactFinder shared that it's due credit to him. But I think that there'll be this pockets of strength. And you can't have a situation where two-wheeler sales move up 50 percentage points year on year. You also have sequential growth start coming through. The only caveat which I like to put on there is that finally the retail is taking some profits off the table, having got this rally right, because sequentially, month on month, inflows into equity, that is a summation of SIPs, lump sum minus redemption, have sequentially degrown. I think these are the first signs of, let's be careful whether people are taking profits off the table. The two-wheeler segments, sir, as I understand, I don't think they're very sensitive to about 100, 150 or 200 basis point shift in interest rates. And I think that sector will continue to be very robust and strong at this point of time. And besides that, sir, a lot, chemicals, the trade that is much abused, has done very well. It may correct further, sir, but I would like to saying that, in a market where things are turning around, cyclical sectors merit attention. And maybe as we progress into this, days ahead, things like this which haven't done well, as raw material prices stabilize, don't move. So I only know one thing, sir, that the best environment for us would be month on month sequential, no shift in prices of commodities. They remain steady state flat. Like for example, today when iron ore prices collapse, I'm not too perturbed about iron ore prices collapsing as much as I'm saying let's be focused on EBITDA per ton, spread per ton, or any other matrix that people are tracking on sectors which are, which are focused on, which are energy iron ore consumers. I think those signs today, so to my mind, are positive. And if you're looking to say that okay, the rate cycle is behind us, and if you want to bet on cyclicality, I am not too sure, sir, but that's something that merits attention, and maybe we could look at them. Maybe we are too early, and I'm sure that we are early, but I think that's the area that I'd like to focus on. Happy to speak on any other points that somebody has, but I think it's been so well covered in this conversation that I'll just be adding not too much value. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yeah. My friend, just a moment.
I'm right here. I'm here, sir.
Yeah, no, we'll take bars, 1976. It's your birth year, I suppose. बोलिए बाज आप unmute yourself. He doesn't.
या बाज आपका माइक अनम्यूट कीजिए भाई. लेफ्ट हैंड साइड नीचे है माइक, उसको अनम्यूट कीजिए.
Yeah, fake finder. You were saying something.
No, interesting. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. The reason you were referring to TVS Motors, and there are two aspects to TVS Motors. One is that
No. I meant the tire company, not the two wheeler.
Sorry, which one were you referring to?
I'm talking about Sri Chakra. I think the numbers merit attention.
Okay, thanks.
It merits attention. I mean, I would like to be very clear that I'm sorry, but in interest of disclosure, I'd like to say that whatever I speak, I'm technically long or short in those positions. So, for the benefit of all our speakers, all the viewers of the hearers in this conversation.
Okay, so no, I thought you were referring to TVS.
Yeah. No. I'm referring to Sri Chakra.
Yeah.
Sorry. So just to clarify. Sorry. So I just to fact find. I'll just tell you a very interesting thing. I usually don't go out. I'm usually home, but today I managed to go out after a long time, and I can tell you one thing that I went to a lot of this very heavy retail stroke commercial footfall places, and my interesting observation that I have is that all these places are mobbed. So as much as you struggle to get in, you also struggle to get out, and that's the nature of the beast in Bombay, I think, on the nightlife today. And it also showed up in a lot of QSRs. I mean, just to highlight, that's it, really, that's it. Thank you.
Actually, if I look at the QSR data, I actually did it for I think not Burger King, but Sapphire Foods, and I did it for another one. What I did was to adjust. See, companies disclose something called same store sales growth. I don't believe that number because it somehow doesn't add up. I used to have the same problem with Domino's as well. And I've questioned the management earlier, the previous CEO, and he a couple of times on the conference call slipped up to suggest that there were volume degrowth. But then when I, rephrased the same question, he said, no, there's no volume degrowth, right? He was trying to hide it clearly. But if you were to simply do a very simple math, take 6-month average stores versus say 6-month average stores 12 months ago or 24 months ago, and assume that your average ticket size has gone up by at least 20%. Forget about that. Sapphire Foods, their revenue growth year on year was 36%. The average store openings year over year, open stores year on over year, grew 36%, 6-month average. Okay. What does it say? That the average revenue per store actually did not grow at all. And considering the fact that the dine-ins percentage increased by about 15 percentage points. And typically, when you have a dine-in, you have a higher ticket size per person or per bill, right? And yet your revenue per bill or the revenue per store never grew, which means that if your average ticket size increased by 20% just purely from inflation and another 5 or 7% purely because people there are a higher level of dine-in, ideally your average ticket should have gone up by 25% at least, which means if your revenue per store is flat, your revenue per your number of tickets or number of customer walk-ins or whatever has gone down by 25%. That's really disastrous if you ask me. I was earlier talking about Zomato. Zomato's revenue for delivery value sales only grew 2% quarter on quarter. That's really bad if you ask me. If you look at Nielsen data, they are saying, and Kantar data, Kantar global data, Nielsen is saying that rural India volumes declined by 10%. Kantar is saying that over the last 3 years, the average packaged food, typically people used to consume 50 packets of food a month. That went to 60 packets post COVID, and today, right? But the average size of the packet has fallen from 450 grams to 300 grams. Effectively, the consumption per family has reduced by 15% between pre-COVID and post-COVID. I'm just giving you data points.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure what you said is absolutely correct. I'm sure, and I think due credit to that, significant analysis that you put in. Thank you so much. I only know one thing, that it's quite likely that the rural India is stressed. I only know one thing, that I don't know if there's any person on this call who actually is running an agri-related business. But when I look at the fact that year on year, your ATA realizations are up about 15 percentage points. And, to that extent, yes, you're quite right. It may be impacting, but when I look at it, there's 11% increase in the realization at farm level for wheat, including a whole lot of other products like rice. So I'm not too sure where this money gets, captured. I'm assuming it gets captured because otherwise it would not have showed up in sales. The other interesting, so I'm not so sure. You're quite right in that context.
No, I'll give you an example, Darshan. The average India today exporting target if everything will be exporters of wheat. The government
that was early stage, but today also ATA prices up about 15 percentage points over January, at about 3,100, I think, quintal. I'm not too sure, but I maybe I'm wrong with it. I'm bad with the data.
No, Darshan, don't look at prices. Let's talk about what happened. The average quintals of wheat that an average farmer, because of the very severe summer, the wheat shriveled up.
Yes,
because
yes.
The average yield has fallen by 15%. So if you are saying that the average revenue has gone up by 11%, and
but I'm not too sure, ये data and ये spatial distribution data, I'm not too sure. So I usually rely only on MP data for wheat, if you ask me, and I usually focus on rice data out of UP, and UP is disastrous. You're quite right.
Yeah, UP I think contributes about 20% of the.
No problem hai, but it doesn't seem to show up in Punjab and Haryana. So it may happen. See, spatial distribution in monsoons is always going to be an issue of concern year on year, right? But it doesn't show up in, for example, two-wheeler sales. It doesn't show up. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It doesn't show up in tractor sales. So it's a very mixed bag, and maybe there's something else to it that we probably it could be that since the government spending on roads and railways is at a multi-decade high or multi-year high, maybe it's quite likely that a whole lot of this farm labor, which has also become very expensive, is actually going there. I don't know, because Manrega, the government is clearly denying it, but CMI data is not showing up. The government is denying increased allocation in Manrega, though the Ministry of Human Resources is asking for it, but it's not showing up in the data where it comes to wage bills, B, in terms of execution on infra projects. It's not showing up. So you're quite right. It could be a lag, and it will show up with a lag. You're quite right.
Fact find that. Sorry. This Sapphire Foods. Which brand is it?
They have so Sapphire Foods has KFC.
KFC and Pizza Hut, right?
KFC and Pizza Hut and Taco Bell, but not across the entire country. So the region of in the whole of India is divided into two companies.
Yeah.
Sapphire Foods and one is
Devyani.
Devyani International.
Devyani is run by this promoters of Varun Beverages. I forgot the family name. I'm so sorry, but I can't recall that name right now.
And I also
Jaipurias, sir. Jaipurias.
Ravi Jaipuria, RJ Corp.
RJ Corp, sir. Yes, you're right.
But the point on two-wheelers, I just want to highlight that two-wheelers by 22 were at a 10-year low.
Yes,
so
yes.
If you're saying at a 10-year low, you're only growing at 1.5%.
So if you take pre-COVID also, thoda growth hai. If you take pre-COVID numbers, are slightly better. But you see, we are not going to make money out of trying to sell domestically anymore. I think we're going to make money out of trying to export, and those numbers are shaping up quite well. Maybe these are very preliminary signs. Maybe they may not sustain.
Okay, on
and one interesting thing, so Shahid bhai, one very interesting point I'll share with you. It's only for, I'll just, one lovely company, sir. So this company actually makes, we've spoken in the past also, they make, steel wire ropes, which go into all this infrastructure projects and all that bit. Very interesting, sir. You look at the numbers of this company, it does 22% ROE, Calcutta-based company, promoters are getting out of a little bit of a family issue. Staggering, sir. Simple businesses, the minute, as much as we curse the government in preventing exports of steel and how it's impacting, our revenue on the export front. But, the flip side is that the ecosystem, which is actually more value accretive, is actually in sterling. They're nearly to about 18% volume growth, which is phenomenal. And these are businesses, like for example, today when you make a bridge and you use wire ropes, or you use those heavy cranes and use fire ropes. These are businesses where it takes a long time for your product to be approved by the government agency and such other people who certify these products, and you do an 18% volume growth. I think this is phenomenal data. How many businesses make these kind of high ROEs and effectively are self-funded, don't need capital at all. I think a very phenomenal business. I think I think it merits attention. Maybe we are too late in the cycle, which happens because typically people like me are very late Latif. I call myself late Latif investor anyways. But I find it very staggering that such numbers are coming through on businesses which depend on certain sets of input. Like for example, I might be perturbed about steel prices in China, but the flip side is if iron ore prices are lower, and effectively, if I'm using steel as a raw material, and my EBITDA per ton actually gets better, adjusted for inventory losses, and I do 22% ROE, I would like to go and examine such businesses, especially when they be, very centric to infrastructure, especially in an environment, sir, when sorry, I'm just prolonging this conversation by dragging it a little longer, but especially when I'm government tax revenues are so solid as at this point of time, as represented by the GST data. It makes attention. Like for example, sir, effectively January, the GST number threshold for e-way bill comes down to only 2 crores. I think people like Samad Bhai can explain to us, that what happens when the threshold has been reduced to 10 crores effective, 1st of October. I think this merits attention, sir. With this, I'll stop here, sir. In the interest of time.
Are you talking about Usha Martin?
Yes, sir. I'm talking about Usha Martin because I was quite surprised with the data quality.
I told you at what levels, yeah.
I understand, sir. It's one of those things which I own for a long time. But it's very difficult, sir, to discuss a stock like this in an open forum when the promoters are going through, an inter-se settlement. And when one promoter is a constant seller on the screen, otherwise these volumes would not come up, sir. So it's very difficult, sir, because we have a lot of people here who are retail investors. And in the interest of disclosure, I'd like to say that I'm talking about a position which we own, and so please be careful about what I'm saying. There's a bias to it, sir.
Darshan, what are your top 6 ideas, Darshan? And I know you'll own them, but you can tell us if that's okay with you.
No. So I don't own too many stocks, but but I'd like to highlight a few areas which I think merit attention. So, for example, when I look at mining, when the government is commercializing mining and is putting out so much money, there's an industry proxy around it. I'm a big believer in services industry. I believe that $150 billion is a very low threshold number. I think that's the industry which I continue to like, and I've spoken in the past also on ENRT. I also have spoken in the past about
You said
business.
You said
Sorry, sorry.
ENRT.
Yeah, I mean engineering R&D.
Say that again.
Engineering and R&D. So on the technology services side.
No, but
Yes.
you're talking about a specific company.
Yes.
उसमें 3-4 कंपनी है तो उसमें वो ज़्यादा the audience is not very large.
नहीं, he is talking about that Bangalore based company, yeah.
But वो तो ठीक है, वो तो we can always discuss later. But these are things to my mind are places are like, so for example, if I look at, for example, when you bring a threshold number on the e-way bill down to 2 crores starting January, how would any organized business want to work with a small operator, though the benefits of pricing might be there, because the compliance requirements are very high. So I actually believe that logistics also could be one of those interesting areas. So these are some of the areas in which we are hanging around with. Maybe they may not. Maybe I don't believe that they all may necessarily be very successful ideas. But I think these are areas which we believe that the threshold of going wrong is lesser, is what I see it. And of course, these sectors tend to be a little, at this point of the way, promoter centric. And, in the past, people don't tend to believe in them too much. And so that risk is high.
It would be better today.
Yes,
if
sir.
you name 4 top ideas and name the company also, and we will indemnify you for any losses.
So I know you will indemnify for everything that I can say, that you would I will say. But sir, in the interest of disclosure, sir, I think all these positions we own, and so very unfair. But for example, I'll be very honest with you, and I'll give you a few names which I think are great outliners, sir. So in the past we've spoken about data patterns, but data patterns is now very expensive. I don't think that's the position that I'd like to recommend to anybody. I think Usha Martin is a subject which I would merit people to have a look at it. Maybe I'm wrong. It's quite likely I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on ERD plays like an LTTS. I'm quite sure it's very expensive. I think that's not the position to own today. But we are at about $150 billion in an industry which is $15 trillion. Yeah, you're talking about businesses relocating back into US. US is not a labor-centric country, sir. And when you're not a labor-centric country, sir, automation, robotics is going to be a far larger call than we think otherwise, sir. So I think that these are places where we could open our minds and have a look, sir. Maybe the data will start showing up. Once the data is showing up, maybe people will develop conviction. Maybe we are too early, sir.
Just a moment. Just a
Yes,
moment.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
these 3 ideas
Haan ji, sir.
are good, okay, but they are very expensive also.
No, sir. I'm in at this point of time. I think none merit attention for investment.
No.
These are things which people can put on their radar, read through. Maybe they're not the positions to be bought, sir. It's quite likely. But sir, I'll put it like this, sir. If you decide to put up and relocate capacities into the US from, let's say, any, be it Vietnam, be it China, be it including India, sir, the manufacturing capacity will theoretically be in terms of staffing to be it in terms of technology levels will be dramatically different, sir.
No, Darshan. What I am saying is, we should, for the benefit of everybody over here,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All these 3 names are very expensive.
No, they are, sir. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to suggest, but sir, I wouldn't want to suggest that they are cheap.
Just a moment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So one is Usha Martin for all the friends over here.
Yes, sir.
And and 2-3 low-hanging fruits.
I'm still searching for them also. No, sir. Sir, so you know what, sir? I'll put it like this, sir. You know, sir, a seasoned investor like you, sir, including, you know, people like us, you know, may be able to wax around with new or emerging ideas. But in the interest of, you know, honesty and responsibility, I think, you know, giving discovered names, though they may theoretically look expensive, it may reduce their expected rate of return relative to what I knew would expect. But I think the benefits of safety and the margin of safety is far higher for them, sir. They may see drawdown. I'm not in.
Hello. શું થયું દર્શન? We lost him or what, Samat?
I can hear you, but I can't hear him.
Yeah, I also cannot hear.
Yeah, sir, it's silent. I think there is some connection issue.
Okay. So, from my side, this Westlife will be a winner. Westlife development.
Oh,
750 is the rate.
I think I've lost them.
હા નહીં, હવે આવે તમારો અવાજ.
Hello. Hello.
हाँ दर्शन भाई, शिवराज भाई आप अपना बंद रखिए. हाँ चलिए. Yeah. So I was saying Westlife development 750, 650, 700. It will be a money spinner. Another one is Kena Metal. The price is 2,600, but it is very cheap when you see the market gap. It's very cheap. So from my side, Westlife and Kena Metal. दर्शन भाई एक आइटम बता दो छोटा वाला पब्लिक के लिए. दर्शन भाई.
Sir, can I be heard, please? Can I be heard?
Yes.
Sir, so you know, sir, with your wisdom, sir, I want to ask you a question. I'm giving you a business which is promoter managed. I'm giving you a business which is the world's, you know, numero uno player, or the world, one of the world's top player. Maybe there could be 10 more. I'm not denying it. In wire ropes, which effectively, helps you in all infrastructure projects, including a whole lot of things like including high towers because the lift relies on them. Is a business which larger primary cost is the steel, is virtually net debt free now, and does 22% ROE.
I'm with you.
No, I want to. Maybe I'm wrong, sir. I'm quite sure I'm wrong, but you know, if I'm right in this, I think maybe with the benefit of hindsight, maybe after 2 years, if I'm still on this conversation with you and all the lovely members of this group, maybe we can take a feedback on how it shaped up.
No, I'm following this since long.
Yes, sir. So you know, okay, SBI removed the old the previous promoter, the other promoter out.
No, I stopped tracking.
So okay. In that case, sir, maybe I think I need to. I'll next time come. I'll come next time. Little more prepared with data, sir, so I can help people.
What's the price now?
Sir, 130 છે because promoter નો જે ભાઈ છે એ seller છે.
It is selling from 30 rupees.
Yes. The promoter who is going out is selling, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But he still has a stake, sir, and he will sell because now the trading window is opened up for him.
No, it did not fit for me because of the Indian promoter, and I hate Indian promoters.
Yes.
Somehow they screw it up.
Yeah.
At some point of time, they screw themselves.
Yeah. But it's just that, sir, so I agree with you, but I'm just scratching my head to say, how can the world's best player or one of the world's best player, the top, 5 or whatever, 6 that they keep calling themselves to be in, where, it does a 22% ROE, cash flows are solid, so I keep asking myself, sir, maybe, I think maybe, it'd be nice if somebody looks through it and says, okay, boss, I'm sorry, we got our facts wrong on this one, sir.
No. Your facts are perfect.
No, MNE, sir. Sometimes, we get biased and we get wedded to an idea that we like, sir. So it's quite likely that there are perspectives wrong, sir. That's how I see it. But I must tell you, sir, that I had a lovely evening out today. I went out for a long time and I really had to struggle in and to get out of a particular place. And that's what I'm telling you, that we are missing the point on this QSRs. And what you said very correctly on Westlife, I'm sure that, we're getting it wrong.
As far as my reading goes,
right, sir.
The profitability of McDonald's,
right, sir,
will be higher than pizza. This Domino pizza.
Sir, I'm sure it will, because you have to actually fight to get into a place, sir. I just realized that today after many months when I went out.
Yeah.
You really had to hit people to get in, and you actually push people out when you went to get out.
But you don't have a small baby that you have to take care.
I know. But my little, you're right, sir. Right, sir.
So the price might move down 100 rupees, 50 rupees.
Yeah. But sir, so I want to ask you a question, and I'll just ask you this as a person who knows you personally. So sir, whenever now, if you were to have, let's say, a social event at your house. So, for example, you're very excited about your 18th birthday party, and you decide to call me, and I come to celebrate your 18th birthday party. Now, you're not going to call me for chai, nor you're going to call me for coffee, because okay, I'm a bad person and I need drinks. Now, you imagine this, sir, that this country is culturally shifting to a situation where the first offering in any social event is a drink.
No. The first social offering is...
Outside Gujarat.
No. The first offering is white powder.
I don't want to get that, sir. But let's assume that the second offering is a drink, and the first offering I will graciously deny as an offering. But sir, what I would like to suggest, sir, is that I get very perturbed about the valuations that one pays, for one of the world's greatest franchisee on drinks. And I keep asking myself, am I very close to a kind of a disbelief that we had where HUL was concerned about 5-6 years ago. When he said कि नहीं HUL में वो personal products में आ जाएगा, you have no idea how many people use face washes and how many people use shampoos and all that bit, and it finally started showing up, sir. Do you think that we are on a threshold of a significant uptick of the kind that we have never seen? Now, sir, so let's assume, sir, that for the sake of benefit of, so simplicity purposes, sir, let's assume that we have a few, listeners on this conversation who are very happy with a 12-14% compounder. Now, will a 12%, 14% compounder, would that make any great attention for them to look at this biggest and the best drinks company in the world available to you at a very expensive price, but where that the threshold is changing very sharply?
Approximately 3-4 years away, definitely our क्या बोलते हैं, per capita income will increase.
So ये 5,000 रुपया थसे, let's assume it goes to $5,000. I'm no expert on this subject, so I rely on people who write such stuff. But let's assume
it will be $3,500.
Okay. So a 3.5 thase, which is still be about 75, nearly about 40% above here, sir. So when you move 40% above today's number, when people say 2,500.
Now it is how much? 91,000 rupees, no? $1,100 के 1200-1300. जे भी हो,
sir.
I presume it will double in 3-4 years time.
But that low hanging fruit, which can give 12% compounding, MNC, most regulated business in the world.
No, don't value any company like that.
Right, sir.
Talk of market cap. It will become 1 lakh crore market cap, which any Andrew Pandu company like Pidilite is 140 and all that. तो
right.
इसका 1 लाख करोड़ होना एकदम 100% है.
So, Bashi sir, apna listeners mate, for the benefit of those who are not very necessarily active, it makes a wonderful place to be, no, sir?
Yeah. No, see.
That's my limited point, sir.
No. For me, as you know,
yes,
I'm only an MNC guy, no Indian promoter, but nonsense Indian promoter.
Yeah, तो आप Indian promoter छे नहीं, तो I think we are on safe spot, sir.
ये छे, then Radico Khaitan is there. It makes good brands.
Yeah.
Chivas and all that.
Yeah,
so, it's a lovely space.
Yes,
but
sir. It's a lovely space, sir.
Yeah. No. The problem with all the investors is,
yes, sir.
If they buy at 880,
yes, sir.
They want, from the moment they buy it, they want to see the price up. No,
yeah, so that's why I said to not get beaten up, sir. I come very infrequently on this spaces, so I'll get beaten up.
No, don't worry about. Nobody will eat.
Yes,
so,
sir.
If you have a good mindset,
right, sir.
If you believe in quality,
right, sir.
That is very essential.
Right, sir.
If you don't believe in quality, don't buy.
Right, sir.
Buy Tata Steel.
No, sir. So, we've given people a lot of dope for this evening, sir. I think it's nice for us to reflect when we get criticism on these ideas that we've shared with them. But in the interest of disclosure, I'd like to suggest that I own most of these, not all of these names, and I'm not a SEBI registered advisor. So everybody, please.
But you are a fund manager, boss.
No, sir. I no, sir. That's that. Sir, it's no, it's not, sir. I'm
Okay, sorry.
I'm your well-wisher, sir.
And so am I. I am like your father.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm your well-wisher, sir. And
I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think about thing with the media sector? On one side you have a consolidation with Z and Sony.
Right.
On another side you and it's not like media, it's a fairly decent cash generation business. Yes, there is obviously the risk of cannibalization because of your regular apps. But if you see the latest data, it seems like 40% of what people live hear and read still comes from, I think, the TV, right? That was, I think, the latest survey that showed a fairly broad survey about readership in India. So in some sort of sense, to build credibility, companies still use and build brands. Companies use television advertising. And these businesses are high ROE businesses, very strong cash flows, and available at very reasonable valuations. And you have a guy like Adani who's getting into it, and he's not going to only stick to business news. He will obviously go through the entire thing. And what do you think about the sector?
So, if you permit me, I'll share my 2 bits on this. So, the Guruji of this media business today, I used to work for this largest, petrochemical conglomerate for a period of 5 years, in a very small role. And I can only tell you 2 things about that conglomerates, that the greatest talent in this world works for them. And if they can't deliver, nobody will. That's my only 2 bits. I'm not going to say much about it. बाकी उसमें आज तक किसी का पैसा बना नहीं है in that conglomerate's media positions. So with this, I will stop. I think I'll restrict my comment here.
Fact finder, world over, you can't make money in media. It's good if you want some dividends abroad. In India, no dividend, no appreciation. So I think don't break your head.
No, but don't you think that with Sony coming on board and them having a MNC badge, uh,
No,
do a cleanup job?
no.
No.
Sony India is in a deep mess. Why did they marry Z? Because there are problems galore. And this merger on paper is okay. But merger of business activities will be very, very difficult. Two platforms, two different moving businesses. It's a tough job. 3-4 years at least.
Thank you, Sharaji. Thanks, sir.
Sharad, I have one last question to ask you. I want
Yes.
your guidance on this subject. So let's just. I think this is also a question for a larger audience, for all of them to mull. But I want your guidance. So I am potentially talking about India's largest logistics company. Now, this company claims it's a tech platform. Now, this company also says that they spend about 3 to 4% of the revenue on building the platform. In India, logistics as a percentage of GDP is about 14 to 15 percentage point. As we read in the data provided by the government, sir, I have no expert on trying to figure out any better data source. And the government itself thinks that this data should be at about 8 percentage points. Now, this company, by virtue of the hype or whatever, in the recent days has corrected by 50% from the top. Now, it's quite likely that when the open of when these when this pre-IPO shares get unlocked, it may trade substantially lower. But they claim that they spend about 300 to about 3 to 4% of a 6,000 to about a projected 8,000 crore top line on developing a platform, spending money on technology, and that is, they believe to their mind, very significant moats, because it allows them to build very significant strengths in terms of data analysis. Now, in this country, when the top player who doesn't necessarily make money is available to you at potentially, if it corrects lower, at a price to at a price to sales about 2.5-3 times, and spends about 3 to 400 crores on building the platform relative to the other comparable peer group, which virtually spends nothing. What would you think, sir, is how we should approach this subject? Because this subject might be interesting as its unlock comes in on 23rd of November, sir. So what do you think should be a way to approach this subject, especially in this country where logistics are 14 to 15% of the GDP? So I'll wait. Just it's a conversation, sir. Just it means nothing, but I thought I'll take your points on this.
So you talking of delivery, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the market cap is around 24,000 crores.
27,000 crores. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I checked that time it was 24.
Yes, sir. That's it, sir. That's it.
Now, looking at the business model, it can go places, but lock-in when it opens, it might correct to 20,000.
Yes, sir. It could, sir. It could, because Nykaa did, PB FinTech did. So yes, it could, sir.
No. Nykaa is a nonsense. Horrible.
Yes, sir. So it could, sir. Delivery could, sir. Yes.
You don't talk of Nykaa.
No, I'm not going to talk about Nykaa at all, sir.
I am very pissed with her.
Right,
okay. This delivery,
yes,
I think if I get it for 19,000 crores or 20,000 crores,
yes, sir,
it's damn cheap, because
yes, sir.
I see in next 6-7 years,
Yes, sir.
6-7 years, it should touch 100,000
Right, sir.
because of its
Right.
and the other one, all cargo also.
Yes, sir.
Though not the same business model, but it looks very promising.
Right, sir.
And Blue Dart, I don't know, it's lost or not.
So I asked you this question only because I thought, sir, the runway to growth is large. These are, large cap companies. My previous boss, Kalpana, is on the board of Delivery. I think she's a wonderful person. Very, 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 uptaken. Integrity, there's no question. She's one of those greatest leaders that corporate India has seen. So I thought that I'll ask you this question because, at the end of this conversation that we had today, sir, in this evening, for the benefit of our, lovely audience that we have, we've spoken about two lovely businesses which might offer them a 12 to 14% compounder, sir. And as long as if it meets a 12 to 14% compounder, I think it would make a lot of people very rich if they invest this money on behalf of their children, in behalf of their families. And so I just thought I'll ask you a question, sir.
No, I disagree with you
Yes.
because
Yes.
in equity, if
Yes,
you
sir.
are looking for 12 or 14%, you are
Yes, sir.
better off with bonds. Okay.
No, sir. 12 to 14 is a minimum threshold that these things can return, sir. Is they correct? And at the level that we want, sir. In case of delivery and in case of the drinks company, we know, sir, that
No, no,
doesn't look very
no.
difficult.
It looks very short,
Yes,
very
sir.
short.
Yes,
And
that's all, sir. Our listeners probably only want that, sir.
no. Another point, if you are expecting
Yes, sir.
14-15% return,
Yes, sir.
don't invest in equity, please.
Sir, it's still 7% over risk free, sir. So I think it's fine. It's there.
In India,
Haji sahib, Haji sahib.
if you expect for 30,
Right,
you
sir.
might get 20. So always expect more.
Oh,
And
no, sir.
be very
Thank you.
selective.
No,
Be
so
very
yes.
selective. I said you will buy. Someone said something you will buy.
No, sir. Then in that case, sir, I want to please suggest that none of these ideas that I have suggested can give 30% threshold. Sir, I was keeping 14, 15.
No. I'm saying
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
that McDonald
Yes, sir.
and McDowell
Right, sir.
and Delivery
Yes, sir.
and Kenna Metal
Yes,
will
sir.
give more than 30-35% return.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
And
Chalo.
if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, we've given this recommendation in the best interest with and with a very simple caveat that it's fair that everybody understands on this conversation that we own all of them and that we're speaking from that position, sir. It'd be fair for me to say that, sir.
And whose father what goes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So yeah, fact finder.
I will sir, stop here and I'm on the call, sir. But thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, fact finder.
Yeah, I want, so Darshan, incidentally, delivery is founded by my junior, 1 year junior from college. Uh, and a lot of guys from my college out there, and batchmates. Now the thing is, the question I have for you is, you've have guys like Flipkart, Amazon, all use delivery services. Misho was using, I think, delivery services. All these guys are struggling to make money,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
Misho has now changed their business model. Everybody's changing their business model.
Yes, Haji.
Guys like in the B2B space, those guys are shutting down. So the question you got to ask yourself is delivery volumes actually growing? And will if a company that is using the delivery company,
Haji.
why will they give them more business,
Yes, yes,
right,
yes.
and profitable business?
Yes.
Secondly, I want to ask you,
Haji. Haji.
you have Blue Dart.
Right, sir. Yes, sir.
That has a revenue of about 5,000 crores,
Haji. Haji.
an EBITDA positive margin of about 12 or 13%
Haji. Haji.
operating margin. This guy with a 8,600 crore top line in 2023 is making a negative margin.
हाँ जी, हाँ जी,
Even if I were to give him the benefit of doubt
हाँ
about
जी,
called tech, and by the way, they have been building this tech for the last 5-6 years now.
हाँ जी,
I am really doubtful as to how much more can they build on tech, because
हाँ
one of
जी,
the stories of them was that they're going to sell their tech platform
हाँ
to
जी,
other companies across the world and charge a royalty on it, something
हाँ
like
जी,
that.
हाँ जी।
How is that really? I mean, I'm just putting questions to
So,
you.
so, so मैं आपको क्या बताता हूँ कि, for example, today, if you look at the numbers of VRL Logistics that came through, right? So VRL Logistics के number में दो चीज came out, right? One was that they were not able to bill their clients because they saw very substantial volume growth in the ending days of the quarter. B, they ran out of capacity, so they went and leased out capacity to be able to service in the volume, which is why they lost about 3 percentage points, I believe, or 291 basis point, I think, on EBITDA, if I'm not too sure. So these numbers are visible in their presentation, which is uploaded on the BSC. It's available for everybody to see. So, my view is like this, fact finder, if you're a $3 trillion economy, 14% cost to GDP agar hai na, the runway to growth or the runway to become an organized player when the threshold number for e-way bill is coming to 2 crore rupees, annual turnover, मेरे को लगता है that opportunity is very large. So, if I get caught up in, Misho's volume, which is where, people keep speculating that Misho ka volume he lost, which is why he's cut down his guidance. It could be true, but, at 300 crore rupiah, if it comes down, at, 300 rupiah, let's assume it trades at that price, you're talking about a stock trading at about 20,000 crore market cap. It could be that I'm completely wrong, but मेरे को ऐसा business बना के दिखाओ in 20,000 crore.
नहीं, पॉसिबल नहीं है ये जो वेयर हाउसिंग और वो सब है ना उसका, ये पॉसिबल ही नहीं है,
It
इतना
could be.
बनाना ही पॉसिबल नहीं है.
So I could be wrong. I mean, so it's fair. It's fair that we. So I also like to clarify that in all these ideas, we are potentially running the risk of losing capital, and I think it'd be fair if all our listeners have the disclosure from me on that point.
No, इतना no fact finder. If you मतलब if you know the promoters, as you say, so take a bet on them. The company is good.
No. They're a good set of guys. There's no doubt about it. But the question.
And fact finder, equity investing is what? Leap of faith. Okay. ज़्यादा सोचना मत.
So
And
I'll tell you,
let
I'll tell you one thing. उसका board में ना लोग ठीक ठाक है. And the responsibilities of board in this country are no longer as easy as they were in the past. तो थोड़ा credit उनको देते हैं हम लोग. Is what I would put it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just giving you to benefit of this Bombay Dyeing Cal investment. I'm just giving you उसके उनको थोड़ा benefit of doubt उस पे दे देते हैं. The SEBI is ruling on that.
Okay, so let me put this into perspective, Sharad.
Haji.
Let's look at Zoom, and I'll give you. I mean, see, at the end of the day, Zomato is also about delivery, right?
Yes, of course, Haji.
So now let's look at Zomato. You saying that a good board, no doubt. I think what people forget is that the entire scenario on interest rates has completely changed. And let me give you this in perspective, right? Zomato in December 2020's price, the value of their business, it was valued at $3 billion. Okay. Remember these dates: 2020 December, $3 billion. 2021 September, it went up to about 3.8, 3.9.
Right.
2022 when it did, 2021, end of 2021, it got valued and listed at almost, I think, 12 or 13 billion dollars.
Haji.
You go back 1 year before 2020, 2019, there was a point where they were struggling to get money. The point I'm trying to make, how different is the scenario if I'm sitting in December 2020, which is a good post-COVID, reopening. A lot more people were ordering on for home delivery because restaurants were shut down. So you actually had the huge benefit of that, all of that, and that point of time you were 3 billion. How different is it today for you to be valued at significantly higher value?
So मैं आपको एक
Especially when your interest rates, which were zero at that point of time, has now dramatically shifted up to 4% globally. And if you were to include a certain amount of depreciation of currency, which has been about 7%, but let's say roughly 4% a year, your cost of equity has gone up dramatically. Logically, does $3 billion deserve to be at 5, or $3 billion deserves to be at 2 or 1?
हाँ जी.
And so then you put the same argument for a guy like delivery.
हाँ जी. So sir, I'm so glad you raised this point that raising liquidity is getting difficult for startups. I think that's my argument in favor of delivery. कहीं competition आएगा ही नहीं. Competitor नया आदमी नहीं आएगा. Nobody will get funding. Nobody can afford to say that I can be unprofitable because I want to take market share away. This guy sitting with nearly 8,000 crores of cash on book. I think your argument is so well placed in the context of delivery. And मेरे को एक चीज बताइए, that 18,000 pin codes and your the Mishos of the world and all of them put together, I understand that is at risk. But whether we can live without them, that I'm not too sure. मेरे को नहीं मालूम. But I'm very happy with the whole fact. Like for example, last week, for all that you of course are a better place than me on this subject. But FTX was $32 billion in the last round by Sequoia or SoftBank. I think SoftBank. Today it is zero. So it's just too fluid. But I'm very happy with the fact that public को पैसा नहीं मिलेगा. I think that's the singular great argument that you put in favor of delivery. I do credit to you.
Darshan,
हाँ जी साहब.
I'll tell Fact Finder, you know the past.
हाँ जी sir.
You don't know the future. You know the present high interest rate regime. You don't know what will happen after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Nobody knows, not me also.
हाँ जी sir.
So, equity per se is a leap of faith.
हाँ जी sir.
Nothing else, please.
Yes sir. Sir, I've learned from you, sir. That is why I'm speculating like this.
Yeah. So basically, if you have very few ideas and if you take a leap of faith or whatever you say, you will be successful.
हाँ जी sir.
If you take 3 bets, for you only 1 bet is enough to be successful.
हाँ जी sir.
So I would suggest to everybody, do basic research.
हाँ जी sir.
And rest, leave it to God if you believe.
Yes,
and if not God, anybody.
Yes sir.
Equity investing is really long term. I am holding shares since 17 years. It's not under my control, it's in the family trust. I cannot touch it, otherwise I would knock it off the next moment I get it. So equity investment is really long term. That is why I keep on harping. Look at the promoter. Promoter chore. For me, everybody is a chore, except very few who are genuine. So, buy okayish business also. Okayish business, not super business. Okayish business. Good management, trustworthy. Buy the share. सो जाओ. आपका इतना पैसा बनेगा कोई हिसाब नहीं है. हाँ, लेकिन निफ्टी 12,000 होएगा, वो पक्का है. तो jokes apart, please invest in good businesses. Nothing else. Good business, not a good promoter. Very, 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 very clean promoter. Not a good also. A clean promoter. If he does a mistake also, it's okay. Because he will rectify it. But a bad promoter will make mistake and make you suffer. And I'll let you in a trade which some okay this policy bazaar. There was a huge selling by some fund. Crores of shares were delivered in 2-3 days. All the selling is absorbed. So if you want to buy 200, 300 shares, I think there is a good scope in it. This is a punt, huh? Please don't abuse me. और बताओ और कोई है कि अभी अपने समाप्त करे 3.5 घंटा हो गया.
Sir, no one is there, sir.
Yes.
So one thing I want to convey to Darshan, Darshan, when you are looking at logistics now, few things which I think like lots of people are factoring the base case that logistics as a GDP will move down from 14-15% to 8-9%. But none of the developed world, बाकी जो डेवलप्ड वर्ल्ड से अपने कंपेयर करते हैं ना, उनके पास इतने ये होलसेलर और रिटेलर टच पॉइंट भी नहीं है. उनका मार्केट बहुत ऑर्गेनाइज है. इफ वी हैव like DMart has a very large organized market of Bombay or something, then the logistic cost as a percentage of Bombay GDP might come down.
Yes, sir.
So it like अपने जो इकोनॉमी का सेटअप है,
हाँ जी.
वो 14 से 8 लाने के लिए फिर आपको छोटे वाले प्लेयर्स को एकदम किल करना पड़ेगा. And if that happens, which many companies say is it will logistic based company, then the yield for these companies will also come down because you are themselves making a case of 14 to 8% जो जर्नी वो लोग कर रहे हैं. तो वहां पे बात नहीं करते हैं कि yield एकदम टूट जाएंगे. They only talk about कि logistic will improve efficiencies of India's country and वो वाला discussion चलते रहता है.
हाँ जी सर. दैट्स सो दैट इज आवर लार्जर. सर इसमें क्या है ना सर, इंडिया में वो 14 to 15 का 8-9 कब होगा? It's of course, and see, a stated intention of the policy makers, one may like to believe that they will drive decisions, stroke funding, stroke tax efficiency in that direction. Whether it translates or not, sir, is very difficult to make a call on. But what is very clear, sir, is that the threshold number for e-way bill is down to 2 crore rupees effective starting January. So this system is getting tighter, sir. वो अपने favor में होगा ना होगा, I wouldn't know, sir. It's very difficult for me to project or give you a very learned opinion on. But what I would like to say, sir, is that a company which spends about 300 to 400 crores in building this, as what they call tech, sir. I don't understand this subject much, and I like to, restrict my opinion there. But sir, it just might be a very interesting play at a certain market cap, sir. Maybe at 27,000 it may not be attractive. Maybe at 20,000 it could be, sir. And I would think that, in the benefit of hindsight, we have time, sir, till the 23rd when the lock-in opens up. I'm sure the learned individuals in this conversation will help us evaluate and make a smarter decision, sir. That's my limited point, sir.
And also another thing, Ravindra, is as we go ahead in times in India, everything is becoming expensive. So also will be the logistic cost. If I want to send an envelope to US to my son by Blue Dart, it would cost me, I don't know how much, $100 or whatever. So that's for the parcel service. For this logistics also, I bet that whatever you are or I am paying for the logistics service will eventually go up by 20-30%. So that's my take. Yeah, fact finder.
No, I have a contrary view. I am very skeptical about why our logistics to GDP ratio is high because of obviously inefficiency in transportation, the speed of transportation despite improvement in roads. Because there are several factors. Our fuel costs per capita is generally higher than most other countries. So, that's a fairly decent pass to the cost. Your interest costs are higher per capita than most of the other countries for the unorganized sector. That's a fair bit of your, cost of infra. Finally, it builds in somewhere. And most of all, our entire infra is now getting consolidated into the hands of one person. Let's take our port capacity. Port capacity, 65% of India's private sector port capacity is in the hands of one person, and 50% of India's volume now goes to that one person. So how will competition play out for that part to go down? Let me take an example of airports. The user development fee for the airports, which has been taken over by one specific gentleman, he's increasing the user development charge and the security charge. He's already increased it by over 100%, and he's aiming to increase that by 700% in the next 6 years. Okay. Are you, if you guys remember, when Air Deccan launched, in India several years ago, they used to have 999 rupee tickets. Your user development fee in a few airports in India, like Mangalore, Ahmedabad, or maybe some certain airports in India, in the next 3 years, that the user development fee is proposed to be 8,000 rupees or 900 rupees, 800 rupees per person. So the point is that if your logistics is getting concentrated in the hands of one particular person, and hence there is no monopoly, there is a monopoly. How do you and the government of India's biggest revenue pie is from fuel? Why do you believe that logistic costs will go down?
No, I said the prices, it will increase. And
So you are saying that, but the Darshan is saying that it is extremely high at 14%. It should go down to 8-9% across
No,
the country.
it's
Why
make
will it oscillate?
no, हाँ जी.
all investments are done like this only. Otherwise, how will
No. So,
yeah.
sir, he's quite right, sir. It's quite right that what you said, that logistics will get concentrated in hands. But what will happen is that a typical, let's assume logistics in this country falls into place, right? So it may so happen that your Bombay Delhi turnaround, which otherwise was 6 days, will come down to 3, which is what is going to happen, and that's the direction in which this is going. So when you when you bring your number, so it may so happen that your billing rate per kilometer may actually climb up because you're doing a pass through on fuel, but it may so also happen that a turnaround will come down from 6 days to 4 days, 6 days to 3 days. We don't know, but it's too early. But it will happen. It's just not when you spend such kind of money on an infrastructure built out on railways, and to not to be able to utilize it at about 80-90% threshold, वो नहीं हो सकता है, वो होगा. It is of course a leap of faith. I don't want to, I mean, this can be intensely debated, and I'm no expert on this subject, but I think this is a direction in which broadly this is going.
No, I'll give you one data point, Darshan ji.
Think
about it. Think about it. The NHAI is almost bankrupt, right?
No, they're not bankrupt, Baba. It's because it is now. It is. So I want to. We read all of this. All of us have read this article by Professor Bakshi. But उसके बाद government ने clarify किया ना कि बहुत effectively the sovereign. So sovereign bankrupt नहीं होता है.
No. When I say bankrupt, sir, their income is lesser than the interest cost. Earlier,
anything. So I put it slightly different. Anything which is sovereign can never go bankrupt. It doesn't matter whether the income and all that, because it's all sovereign.
You're now playing with those words. Don't let's look at from.
नहीं आप बताइए please. Yes, please.
So okay, let me give you an example. Okay, and this is the calculation that I did.
हाँ जी.
The average cost per lane kilometer.
हाँ जी.
Prior to this government used to be about 1.5 crores. Okay.
हाँ जी.
You know how much it is today? It's
no,
about
I don't. No, I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm very honest
crores.
with you. Yes. Haan ji.
So the question you got to ask yourself
हाँ
is
जी.
why should when we've had a very bad, except for the last 1.5 years,
हाँ जी,
where the land prices across the country may have gone up a little bit. I mean,
हाँ
in
जी,
residential prices have gone up a little bit, but
हाँ
if you
जी,
take the last 10 years, prices have hardly gone up anywhere.
हाँ जी,
And in fact, because of demonetization and the disruption of the SME and the unorganized sector, in general, beyond the cities, things have not been all that great, right? So
okay,
if I were to take that into consideration and I say
हाँ
that,
जी,
listen, my
हाँ जी,
average cost of land should
हाँ
not
जी,
have gone up 3x, 200% or 300% in the last 10 years. It
हाँ
wouldn't have
जी,
gone up. It definitely wouldn't have gone up. But the
okay,
average cost per lane kilometer has gone up almost 300%. So that's the problem, right? When
okay,
your cost of infrastructure, and you need to ask, nobody asked this question, why is this the cost of I think was it building roads have
हाँ
gone
जी,
up so much when land prices haven't gone up so much.
okay,
Fuel price, your tar hasn't gone up so much. Maybe cement has gone up, but I'm just saying there is cement has not gone up 200%, right? It's not, right? So the point you got to ask is, if your road infrastructure is becoming so expensive, so hence your tolls being charged is becoming so expensive,
हाँ जी.
how are your logistics costs going to go down?
So, so equity investors fly a kite in the sky. So I'm going to give you a fly in the sky response. So please bear with me. It may not suit you. So Pele NHAI is a sovereign, right? Effectively speaking, a sovereign doesn't need to necessarily have revenue pool, to my mind, because the government bails it out, which the government has done in this budget, where the government is going to sponsor NHAI projects, right? एक चीज वो सेटल हो गया कि भाई द गवर्नमेंट इज बेलिंग आउट एनएचएआई, they're bailing it out of mine and your tax revenues. तो उसमें क्या है ना कि everybody who is used as infrastructure, when they buy a little soap, the tax that they pay, the government is collecting it, and they're going to now use that to also build the road. So that's one bit. Now, with respect to infrastructure costs, so I only know one thing, that cash flows for corporate India, profitability of corporate India is not showing the stress on P&L. So the pricing, assuming that everybody prices out all costs, either it contracts demand, B, it doesn't, it contracts demand meaningfully, so you absorb the cost and you give away P&L. B, it doesn't contract demand and you pass through to customers because the customers are willing to pay for it. Prima facie, corporate profitability as a percent GDP is finally climbing in this country. So मेरा यही दो submission है. I think आपने जो बताया are actually sterling facts. But I'm saying that, boss, I'm a guy who flies a kite in the sky. So I'm saying मैं ये data देखने वाला हूँ.
Darshan, ये, do we have data on delivery? How much revenue is dependent on rail network versus road network?
Sub available, sir. It's all delivery data is completely available. Detailed presentation on the BSC website, sir.
चल, ठीक,
हाँ जी, सब available है, sir. Everything is available. 23rd is the unlock date, is what I have read in the newspaper. Maybe it is not 23rd, it's 20th, but sub data available है, sir.
मैं क्या
Thanks,
बोलता
thanks.
हूँ
Welcome,
मैं
sir.
क्या
Welcome,
बोलता हूँ
sir. हाँ जी, sir.
कि ये जो स्पेस है लॉजिस्टिक, ऑल कार्गो, डिलीवरी, ब्लू डार्ट, don't see anything besides this. That's my request.
So, okay, okay, sir.
No, we can debate on the pros and cons of this
No, that is
industry.
true, sir. But it is fair that we try to. So, so I'll be very honest with you, and I think it's fair if all investors absorb this point that, infrastructure is never profitable globally if it is completely built by private sector. It effectively always gets bailed out, subsidized in some form or the other by the exchequer. So, for example, sir, during COVID time, if Lufthansa was not bailed out by the German government, there would have been no Lufthansa today, sir. Now that's the nature of this beast, sir. But the fact is that we have to keep it going. So, for example, sir, like the Worli Bombay, the Bandra Worli ceiling, sir, it's debatable, right, whether people ever made money on this or not. So HCC which built that bridge is bankrupt. but the fact that it is still alive and up and we are still paying for it is a reality, sir.
No, that way, Bombay Airport was built by GVK.
Yes,
and
sir.
it went bankrupt.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
the nature of business.
Yes, sir. So it's very difficult and tricky, but sir, we are stock market investors. We have to make use of the opportunity and make use of the opportunity scale that is available to us if the pricing is correct. So my submission on things like a delivery or the drinks company, or for that matter on a steel wire company, is in that background, sir. It may not work, and it'd be fair if everybody puts a little homework of their own before they arrive at that conclusion.
Darshan.
Haji, sir.
Per se, equity is what? A leap of faith only. Yeah.
I agree with you, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any share you buy,
Right,
you
sir.
are buying the future, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
you don't know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fact finder.
Right, sir.
No, I just there was something in my mind that I wanted to highlight. Yeah, so one thing, Darshan, you're very right that
Haji,
infrastructure sometimes it needs to get subsidized by the government and not.
Haji.
But my worry, right, when I see some of the infrastructure, and I'll give you an example. I made that point about road cost per kilometer, right? How is
Haji.
it gone up? Because eventually it finally is on a cost on the logistics companies who will finally pass it on to the companies who will finally pass it on to the customers, right?
Haji, Haji.
Right. And so then the economy becomes inefficient because at the end of the day you have to pass it on to your international customer, right? So now let's look at the example of our airports, and let's take the example of Singapore, right? I'm often based over there, right? The thing is that the airport in Singapore is a very nice airport, but it's not a fancy airport. It is a very well designed, efficient, good looking, decently looking airport. India, we are now building palaces out of the airports. We're building 5-star airports. Airports are not supposed to be 5-star hotels. They're supposed to be utilities. So we are effectively gold plating, silver plating, and platinum plating our utilities. Eventually, somebody has to pay. Eventually, the air cargo company has to pay. My point is that everywhere our utilities are getting gold plated and silver plated to such an extent. I wonder how we're becoming more efficient as a country.
So 12:30 बज गया है, इतना रात को डरेंगे तो सो नहीं सकेंगे.
Ravindra, you wanted to say the last word.
So only two things. Like you mentioned about few companies. So there is Alcargo subsidiary Gati. They are cleaning up, and they have within that subsidiary they have another KWE entity. They are I guess buying the stake, so that can also be considered. And just thanks to Darshan Bhai, he shared his knowledge very prolifically. My old MD told me that whenever you find someone who shares very knowledge so well, take a counter position and you will extract much more information out of it. So yeah, thanks for sharing all the wisdom.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. And fact finder, really, I don't know about this gold plating, but I quite like our Bombay airport. Yeah, शायद होगा, but मजा तो आता है airport पे.
That's true. I agree with you.
And I've not been to too many airports in the world. I'll be very honest with you. But I had my colleague who just recently went to London. He was in the immigration there he went for a business trip, and he was there in the immigration for nearly about 3 hours, because that's what it took him. And I found it scandalous that a country like United Kingdom, somebody had to wait in the immigration for 3 hours. So at the same time in Bombay airport, when I get out now, it takes about from the aircraft to the duty free shop, maybe at best 30 minutes. So, I don't know ये इसको कैसे evaluate किया जाता है, but typically my view is that infrastructure is always beneficial and works only if it is government financed, subsidized, or roll through. Like for example, like Bombay, in Bombay, I don't know if there are many listeners on this conversation from Bombay, but I'm a very active user of Bombay public transport. I'm very proud of the fact that if not for a government subsidy, the Bombay city wouldn't have thrived if not for the rails which are subsidized. it wouldn't have worked. So it somewhere it gets, that's how it works, that's the nature of this beast. But इसमें क्या है ना, it doesn't mean that the case that we are making for some of the logistics play become very poor. At a price, I think things look interesting, and maybe this is my submission.Maybe I'm quite wrong, but but ठीक है ना, wrong होना भी is a good virtue because सीखने को मिलेगा. So with this, I'll stop. I'll wish all the listeners a good night. Have a pleasant weekend, and have a lovely time watching the finals on Sunday. Thankfully, we are not in it, so we don't have to be stressed about it.
I'm waiting for football, man.
Chaliye. All right, lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sharad bhai. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Thank you,
listeners,
everybody.
for the
Good
patience
night.
and hearing me out.
Samad, good night.
Good night, sir. Thank you, Darshan bhai. Thank you, Fact Finder. Thank you, Ravi ji. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
sir.
sir.
Good night, Sarmat. Good night, Darshan, and good night, Ravi.
And Fact Finder, I'm staying in the airport only because it's gold plated. I made it
But
a
sir,
house.
sir, stay in T3 only. T1 and T2 are bus stations, sir.
No, you should go to Bangalore airport. It's the best airport. Seriously, you have bars over there, you have pubs over there, you have nice restaurants out there. It's amazing.
But yeah, I'll tell you one thing. So मेरे को लगता है कि for people who haven't been to Bangkok, the Bangkok airport was made, I think, nearly about 20 years ago. And trust me, it was 20 years ago, sterling. And I don't know how it is now. I haven't been there the last decade, so I wouldn't know much.
So what about it?
No, like airport Keus hai, it is a very lovely airport, is what I'm trying to suggest. That Samudra Manthan is a theme of the airport in Bangkok.
Okay.
Yes. No, I understand, sir, where you're asking me. It's Friday evening, but we'll keep that conversation private, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Good night, sir. Good night, sir. Good night, all the lovely listeners. Thank you, Fact Finder. Thank you, Samad bhai. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening, please.
Have a good
Good
evening.
night. I'm sorry. Good night.